we have so much to talk about. Like, I don't even think I kept up with everything that you did.
It was a lot. And I know there are things that I likely missed, but this is the stuff that I think is most important, I guess.
Yeah. So where do we even start? I guess the trailer is a good place to start.
Well, I think for just to state overall news, I guess, is without going into anything else with the trailer quite. Season 2 is going to premiere on December 10th,
Yeah.
which is a Wednesday. That was the first, that was the main big thing that came out of um, the panel at Comic-Con before they accidentally showed it during the panel before they were supposed to.
Oh my gosh.
But that's one thing that came out right away, that season 2 is going to premiere on Wednesday, December 10th, which is I counted the other day, it's 18 weeks away or something. A
Hmm.
little over 4 months, a little bit sooner than people thought, but I do
Yeah.
think it was a good decision to move it up a little bit, just in case people actually care about Stranger Things. I don't know if people do still,
I
but
don't know how much overlap there really is.
yeah, I don't know. They might be. I honestly don't know. I have no idea who watches that show anymore because it's been on for 17,000 years.
Yeah, I will say they
Hi,
left it
Isa.
on a really weird cliffhanger last time, so that's the only reason. Part of me is like, okay, what's gonna happen with this one character? But yeah, there's not too much interest otherwise. It's just like, okay, is she okay? Okay, we're good.
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that I think we should talk about before going into everything with the trailer is that they announced who Nico and Bianca are.
Yes. Oh my
And
gosh.
so, oh my God, they're such precious little children.
Yeah.
They're Nico's name is Levi Chris Polos. I'm probably saying that wrong. And Olive Abercrombie is Bianca. They both have been in some things. There are absolutely adorable videos of Levi singing show tunes because I'm pretty sure that he's been cast in musicals and plays and things like that
Hmm.
in for the other parts of his career. But they're so tiny.
Yeah.
Um somebody posted the video, the audio. It was the video of them when Rick did the same thing that they did last year for Tyson, where at the end of the panel they had Rick do a video where he introduced that he was announcing who the D'Angelos were, and then tiny little Levi started talking, and people played the audio from that video covering up their phones because they weren't supposed to be recording. And I
Hmm.
remember I told Mandy, I'm like, he sounds like he's 6. Oh
Yeah.
my God, I need to protect this tiny child. He's actually 13. It's just that I don't think his voice has dropped or anything yet, and so he
Yeah, he's
sounds
so
so
little.
young. And he's 13. Olive, who plays Bianca, is 14, which is the exact ages you would want them to be if they can make them those ages, or they can make them a little bit the same age in the books or whatever, because they would pass for those ages 10 and 12 on screen, or they can
Hmm.
make them a little bit older. We'll see when the show starts, but either way, it was an amazing thing of these children are adorable. They just are so sweet. And he
Hmm.
was Levi. The clips of him, he was just so
Yeah.
excited about playing Nico as anyone alive would.
Yeah.
And so I will say that Walker had a little clip on I think it was a Seaweed Brain podcast. They posted a little clip of him talking in right afterwards when they did some press things with them. And he's like, "You guys want to know about Nico? I can tell you about the kid." And he starts telling them about how he did a chemistry read with him 2 months ago. And which means, just for anyone keeping up, they announced officially that Titan's Curse was renewed by Disney on March 21st.
Hmm.
And by May, they were doing chemistry reads for kids to play Nico with Walker. They were on it.
Yeah.
Like, they were like, let's do this now. Okay, goodbye. Like, if you want to do this now, let's do this now. Um, but either way, he said that he was really nervous, obviously, when they've been like on set right now recently, getting ready for Titan's Curse. But he said during the chemistry read that he like forgot one of his lines, and he just like said his line out loud. Like,
Hmm.
because he probably was so nervous to like try to get this job that he probably did the scene so many times that he had both parts like completely memorized. It was
Yeah.
like that kind of a thing. And he read like all of the books after he got the part, and so he has like everything like really much memorized, like set in his mind because he just read it all, and so it's
Hmm.
all like fresh up there.
Yeah, didn't
um
Walker say something about him correcting him on a
yeah,
Percy Jackson fact
yeah.
too?
And him being like, god, I have to be on top of my game with this kid because he just read all these books. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's funny. And one thing that Becky said on Threads is somebody asked her something about the characters that die if they're like get more time on screen or something or other. And she basically said that Bianca has a lot more agency in season 3 because it's not being told from Percy's perspective.
Hmm.
And so she automatically just gets more agency that way, which she said was like necessary. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that when it's a TV show, it's going to feel a lot longer that
Yes.
they'll be with us. And I'm already getting ready for the absolute fucking reckoning that's going to be people remembering what actually happens in the book
Hmm.
with Nico and what is just like literally just like fan casted. It's like a ghost that's just like continued to get worse over time. Like it just keeps turning into something that it's not.
Yeah, are
It's
we talking
wild.
about Nico making Percy promise to keep Bianca safe?
Yes, he
Yeah.
doesn't. He doesn't.
Yeah, Percy does everything in his power to try not to promise that. He's like, I mean, I can't promise you that. Like, literally says that, I'm pretty sure. And he settles on, well, I'll try my best, or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
he just says, I'll do my best. And that's all you can ever hope for on a quest
Hmm.
like this. And he tries to reassure him that, she has people like Artemis and Zoe and stuff watching out for her too.
Hmm.
But that's all. So, yeah, just to start with, that he never promises to keep Bianca alive. There's no possible way he could ever do that.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't even promise in the first place. So he doesn't actually break any promises to Nico because he never said it in the first place. Nico
Yeah.
is just like a traumatized little kid and is just upset at the end. But just to like, I guess, almost put that reminder out that like the kid who plays Nico Levi, he's probably going to be in the first, I don't know, like 3 episodes or something, maybe
Hmm.
something like that. And then he's probably not going to be back like on set or doing another episode until like the very end.
Yeah.
And so like this season is a good way for him to kind of like see what it's like see what working on this set is like, see what like handling this kind of thing is like, and then having a little bit more time to get ready for when he's a much bigger part of the story in Battle Labyrinth for the next season after that.
Yeah.
But this one, he's not in as much. Um, and, oh, Isa says that at least Leah said the set is from the sky is huge and dark, so they're doing a lot of practical things. Like, yeah, that was one of the things they talked about during the panel for at Comic Con was that everyone really liked them having a lot more practical things for season 2. It
Hmm.
just made it feel more real. And so, yeah, I don't see them going back on that now since everybody really liked it and felt like it made their performance better. And I think it comes across on the screen better too. Most of the time, practical things just do because there's always something that like makes you realize that it's not really real
Yeah.
when you're watching things that aren't real. But either way, this season Bianca will be in it a lot more than Nico. And so that's something to just keep in mind is that she's actually going to be in more episodes than him. And she's going
Hmm.
to be a bigger kind of storyline,
Yeah.
for lack of a better word, than him. Like, he's kind of like the dread thing that you have throughout the entire season, especially if they also kind of do the thing that they do in the book where you don't know for sure if she's really dead or not until the very end.
Hmm.
I hope that they do that because I remember the first time I read the book how devastating that was when I realized that she wasn't coming back like Tyson came back in the book before that.
Yeah.
And So if they do that, he's going to be like a question of like what's going to happen when they come back, but most of the story is going to be more about her.
Yeah, which makes
Um,
sense. She's actually on the quest. And I think I said this when we were reading it, but going back to my copy I've had since like 2009 of Titan's Curse, I literally when Bianca got lost, I went back to the prophecy. It was like it says lost, it doesn't say dead, and like gave myself hope. It's written in my little
mhm,
footnotes on the side. So like
mhm.
yeah, we all felt the same thing of like she can't really be dead, right?
Yeah, no one wants the kid to die being electrocuted to death by a giant robot.
Yeah.
You want her to especially because of the way that they don't see her again. It gives you yes, all of us were in denial. Like even the characters in the book were in denial because they didn't want it to be true. Like
Hmm.
Percy says in that ending scene that he was hoping that when they got back that she would be there
Hmm.
and that she would somehow have made it back without them and that she would somehow still be alive. And he was even like devastated when he realized that she wasn't ever coming back.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. And so that was like basically like Rick's post about it was like I hope nothing like traumatizing ever happens to these two kids.
Oh
It's
my
like
gosh. Yeah.
because everyone's looking at them like oh they're so sweet and innocent looking and their storyline is so hard.
Yeah.
Like the girl who plays Bianca is going to be back probably the season after this to play the version of her as a ghost.
Hmm.
Um, Talking to Nico, telling him to like let her go and things like that. That's just
Yeah,
it's so heavy,
it
which is
is.
like part of this whole thing. Oh, one quote I wanted to read was Jason Ensler is one of the directors for season two. I really liked during the production, he had really interesting things on threads. He would like post every day, like a little like directing, just like insight. Some of the time it was just about how to work with like child actors
Hmm.
or how to do certain things. And but either way, I just really liked the stuff that he posted. It was really interesting to read.
Hmm.
And he did this post on Instagram where he talked about he's doing 3 episodes.
Hmm.
So I would guess that just from that James Bobin is going to do episodes 1 and 2, that he's going to do episodes 3 and 4, and I think 7, because I know that the girl, Petronia is her first name. I
Hmm.
can't remember her last name right now. But she said already that she's doing like the episodes with Cersei and the siren scene, and I
Hmm.
think the last episode too. And so she's probably doing 5, 6, and 8. And so he's probably doing 3, 4, and 7 or something. I don't know. I just know that she's doing the ones that have a lot of like big Leah moments, like the Cersei stuff and the siren scene stuff, and those are probably in 2 separate episodes.
Hmm.
Anyway, he said he was talking. It was really interesting to hear him state it this way because I was like, I bet this is how people who don't live my life feel well, when they think about stuff. Because he basically said, he said, I for 7 months I directed 3 episodes of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Percy Jackson isn't some childlike adventure. It's a meditation on courage, identity, belonging, trust, and betrayal, fate and free will, found family, revenge, redemption, and responsibility. He said, perhaps you will be transformed as I was. I became significantly older, whereas you may learn what it means to be a hero. And I'm like, yeah, that's literally what you do. Like when you're like the one that decides to like I am the one that's going to deal with all of my family's intergenerational trauma. That is literally every single thing you do. And
Yeah.
I'm like that's all this show is is that. And I'm like, yeah, we are the heroes of our families. Like regardless if anyone actually tells us that or not, we are. Like, I know that me going to therapy 5 years before my niece was ever born is going to make her life so much better.
Hmm.
Like, so much better in ways that she would never even know. Like, thank God.
Yes.
Because I actually did it. Like, I had no idea she was ever going to be born when I did any of that stuff, but all the work that I did will pay off in the same way that it will pay off already and has for your son.
Hmm.
And that's just how this stuff works. And it was
Yeah.
really cool to see him talk about it that way because I'm like, yeah, that is exactly what's happening here.
Yes.
And I did want to give him props for, there was a story that Walker told that I was like, this is like what it means to like work well with children. And because I see people talk about that sort of thing, like you see people kind of using that phrase of like, oh, so and so knows how to work well with kids. Like Becky has
Mm-hmm.
said that before on Threads, that they try to find people that know how to work with kids. But I'm not sure that people actually know what that means. And so I saw this as like the best example, that when they were, Walker told this cute story when they were filming the big Syl and Charybdis episode,
Mm-hmm.
and which is one of Jason's episodes. And they were, him and Daniel were up on like the top of the ship when they were filming a scene together, which, considering the episode that they're on and what we know happens with Tyson, would likely be like a more intense scene. And when they were up there, they made a joke about like how they should like reenact the Titanic. And so they were up there working on the scene for a while, and then he said that there was like a loudspeaker of like right by them where they could like hear everything the director and stuff would say to them when they were doing the scene. And all of a sudden Jason is on the thing being like, Walker, like, or Daniel, assume the Titanic position. And he gets up there and does it, and like Walker does it like pretending like he's Jack. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the other crew people who knew how to sing started singing like My Heart Will Go On. And it
Yeah.
was just like one of those like funny moments that you hope ends up on like the behind the scenes thing. But the reason why that story to me is like, this is what it means to like know how to work with child actors, is that that scene they were working on is likely an emotionally intense scene.
Mm-hmm.
He did that to help them relax.
Yes.
Specifically Walker. Like when you work with children, this is what you're supposed to do. You don't tell them that they're complaining. You don't tell them that they're making your life harder by having feelings. You
Yeah.
take care of their feelings without them even knowing that they're doing that. Like he just thought that when he was telling the story, he's like, suddenly he just said that. He had no idea why Jason was doing that. But that's Jason's job, is to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that his 16-year-old person that's in all of these really heavy scenes in that episode is going to like be okay while filming all of these scenes by making him laugh sometimes.
Yep.
And I'm like, it's so refreshing to see like a story like that come out. He doesn't even know what he's saying necessarily. He doesn't have to at
Mm-hmm.
all. But it's just like, yeah, that's how sets are supposed to work, that actually see children like human beings. They're
Yes.
actually supposed to care about you and like do things like that without even trying, instead of telling them that they're complaining and they just need to go back and work harder.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So that was like reassuring just from the start, even before we watched anything. And then, of course, the trailer came out, and there's so many things in this trailer that are connected to other things that they also said in interviews and stuff. So to start with it, the voiceover is Poseidon,
A great stirring is underway.
Mm-hmm.
and he is reading basically the letter that's at the end of Sea of Monsters that he gives to Percy, where he's talking about how things are going to be, harder now.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like an interesting choice. It'll be interesting to see if that ends up like actually being on the show,
Yeah.
or if that was just purely for the trailer, or what. We'll see
Yeah.
in January sometime. Like I personally think that the fact that the finale comes out 2 days after my birthday is a really nice birthday present that they gave me. So thank you for
It
that.
is. Yeah.
Like thank you. Like last time season 1 ended, it was like 5 or 6 days after my birthday. So it's always close to when my birthday is.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit closer this time. Okay, so the first like picture I have from it is that little clip they have of Grover looking at like the sea monster thing,
Mm-hmm.
and just still looking at the people that are standing behind him trying to figure out who it is.
Yeah.
Like I know people are assuming that one of them is Allison, and it could be.
Mm-hmm.
And the other person could be Chris Rodriguez, but also because we know that Grover has his own storyline, and he
Mm-hmm.
talks about how, or Aryan has talked about how, what am I saying? How they like, he like runs into other people on Polyphemus's island, or like bodies of like other satyrs that were there that
Mm-hmm.
died. It is one of those things of like, maybe they're just other people.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not people that we know. Maybe they're just other random people Who knows? um, and then I laughed at myself about this. They show a clip of the scene that is in the book where Annabeth gets hurt when she's on Polyphemus's island. And all they show in the trailer is like her hand falling, like her on the ground. They show like Percy having like a nightmare about it. And you just see like blood on her dagger and her like laying on the ground and she drops. I got scared by that and I'm like, this is in the book.
Yeah.
It's in the book.
It's gonna be okay. I already know it's gonna be okay, but it's still stress inducing.
Like, you know it's in the book. Like, what are you doing? Calm down. Like, okay. And the first thing that we just have to laugh about is Luke in his tracksuit.
Yeah, I love it, and in his tracksuit, like stabbing Thalia's tree. I have to get used to saying it the right way. Thalia. So what's interesting about that is they had mentioned before they're gonna make the poisoning the tree scene much darker. Mm-hmm. And so having him literally stab the tree, you can see like droplets coming down that might be blood. It's a continuing motif in Greek mythology that things can be, like weapons can be poisoned and then you stab somebody with a poisoned weapon. Mm-hmm. So my guess is that Backbiter has poison on it in that scene, and that's part of what's going on too. So mm-hmm. It's like it's so crazy because like I wouldn't be surprised too if they just say, oh, Backbiter has this power, Backbiter's the reason why she's going under. But I think adding poison to it makes it especially vicious because it's much more calculated than potentially just, I'm angry, let me stab this tree.
Yeah, and it's also just like the idea that he stabs her. Yes. Like, that's Thalia. That's like,
your friend.
I don't know why, but I think this is generally what people thought. But I thought when they talked about how he poisoned her tree, that he somehow put something in like the tree, the roots in something in it that made it get poisoned. Like, you know, when there's like an oil spill or whatever and it just like gets into like the ground and starts messing up all the natural things around it.
Watering it almost, but with poison.
Yeah, I thought it was something like it was going to be something like that. This show is not fucking around when it comes to Luke being a villain. Luke is like, I made a video saying like Rick and Becky Riordan got tired of people like empathizing with Luke and was like, fuck everything. We're going to make sure that you all know how evil he is. And I generally think that's what they're doing. Like, no. And somebody in the comments said like, it's so nice that instead of people like going with that empathy and like, you know, trying to do like a redemption story or whatever like other properties do, that instead they're like doubling down to be like, no, this is what I mean. This is what I want you to think about this character. You're not thinking about him the right way, so I'm going to make sure you think about him the way that I want you to. And I'm like, yeah, that's what they do. Yeah. they're not going to do that. But either way, the fact that he has a matching tracksuit,
oh my gosh, yeah,
that I still say looks like a weird bathrobe, and on the front anyway, I'm just like, the idea that he like was on his stupid ship and was like, oh, I have to go, you know, stab my best friend and possibly kill her. I have to go be the most dramatic person on the planet. And so I'm going to wear my matching white tracksuit and get on a horse and wear white when you're on a live animal that's dirty. Okay. Okay. Yeah. And I'm just picturing, I'm like, in the trailer, after he pulls his knife out, you can see him looking at someone. And you can also, in the picture that they put in Entertainment Weekly, you can see when he's on the horse that he's looking at someone. Yeah. And I'm like really interested to see who he is looking at, like who saw him doing that, because I'm guessing that probably happens before Percy and Annabeth get to camp. Since like they come in and are being attacked. Like, one thing our friend Sophia noticed in the trailer is that the Lastragonians, or the Canadians, are like at camp. That the very end of the trailer, which we're going to have feelings about with Tyson, there you have to like slow it down. Like I had to slow it down in the app that I use to make our videos to see it, but there's
Mm-hmm.
one of them that like throws like a dodgeball thing at Percy, and that's what Tyson is protecting him from when they
Mm-hmm.
like reveal what he looks like. And
Yeah.
so the Lastragonians don't just like they don't just like get away from them, I guess is what I'm saying about the school. They are like chasing them to camp the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting that if they have it be before they get there or if they have them see it after. And either way, it's just interesting to imagine like who saw him do that.
Yeah.
Who saw him do that? And it's just like, did you just stab? Did you just stab? Like, did you just stab Thalia? And yes,
Yeah.
the Lastragonians are working with Luke in this season. He mentioned, like Charlie just like mentioned offhand, that the Lastragonians are around Luke a lot during this season, so
Mm-hmm.
they stay with him. But either way,
Yeah.
it's just like just starting there that we literally see him stab Thalia because the tree is Thalia. It's just her body has just been turned into a tree, and so when he stabs it, it should have blood come out of it because it is her body.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, as Issa called it, frat boy fashion winter 2025.
Yeah.
His tracksuit.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Everything that this is really funny to me. Everything that Charlie wears looks like he's a college student that got lost. Like everything. It looks like he's just a college student. Like he wears like plaid with like a white shirt underneath. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I saw so many kids when I was in college wear that exact thing.
Oh my gosh.
It's just so funny.
Frat boy fashion. That's gonna be his aesthetic for this next one.
Yes. And one thing I in our last episode I was talking about how in one of the pictures from Entertainment Weekly that Grover was like holding something, but I couldn't tell what it was. It's his reed pipes that
Yeah.
he uses in like other books for his powers. And they have a close up of that in the trailer of him seeing them on a dead person,
Mm-hmm.
but seemingly taking it. So one thing that one thing Aryan
Aryan.
said in
Yep.
interviews that I thought was really also interesting to go along with the Luke stuff was that he mentioned that he films a scene
Mm-hmm.
where Grover realizes that he failed, like protecting them in the past, that Thalia dies. And so
Yeah.
we're going to have to watch him like realize that Thalia died and how devastating that would be for him. And he also basically said that when he's in Polyphemus's cave, he starts thinking about what happened with Thalia because he never got over like the guilt of feeling like he's responsible, which he's not,
Yeah.
but he's thinking about it and is like sad about it and thinking about what that was and how responsible he still feels about it because he's stuck in this cave and he doesn't have anywhere to go. And
Mm-hmm.
so he's just like sitting in there and he basically said it like this is something that Grover's always just like tried to avoid thinking about because it's
Mm-hmm.
just really painful and he doesn't want to remember how he felt like he let Thalia down. But when he's stuck in there, he doesn't have anything else to think about, and so he starts thinking about it again. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, this show is like really going hard on Luke being a villain because there's nothing else that you could possibly ever feel like thinking about like young Grover feeling responsible for that when it's not it could never possibly have been his fault.
Yeah, there wasn't anything he
Um
could have done.
yeah, and they didn't end up in that situation because Grover got lost. They ended up in that situation because Luke picked a fight with anything that breathed around
Yeah.
them. Per Thalia Grace, if you're wondering where my citation of that was from,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
it's
Who is
Thalia who said
there?
that. And so if you don't agree with that assessment of that scene, this season might be interesting for you, but also Thalia is the one that said it, so you can talk to her, I guess, about not agreeing with that. It's in the beginning ish of The Last Olympian, if you're wondering where that came from.
I
Um,
think she said it in Titan's Curse at some point too, when she
yeah.
finally starts admitting to herself that Luke is bad.
Yeah, she alludes to it a little bit more in like Titan's Curse, but she just straight out says it. and the last Olympian, and makes it really fucking clear that it was Luke's fault. And she says, like, the thing that she says that kind of alludes to it in Titan's Curse is she admits that Zoe was right, that she should have just, like, joined the Hunters back when she offered, instead of not doing it for Luke back then, when she saw, like, I guess warning signs about him back then, because she just, like, couldn't leave him.
Yeah.
Because she felt they were like all they had at the time, so she just couldn't imagine leaving him. And now he just stabbed her, so that's fun. But either way, like, so far we have Grover feeling all this guilt about what happened with Thalia. We have Luke stabbing Thalia, and how the other kids are going to feel about that. And then one thing I thought was interesting was they showed a clip of Percy on the ironclad, like, Clarisse's ship, when they're, like, getting ready to go in with Scylla and Charybdis. And he's standing, like, at the very front of the ship, like, almost like he's trying to, like, guide them through. And I was like, oh, God. And over, like, the line of Annabeth saying something about, like, this is a sea of monsters, can you handle this? And I was like, this is going to be god-awful. Like, watching him be like, yeah, I can do this because I literally have no other choice. I have to do this. You know, it's not like he can be like, no. Let's just go home. Like, he has to do it. Like, and I know that she knows that when she's saying that, but it's just like a horrible feeling, that realizing that he's going to take responsibility for all of this, and we know that it doesn't work. He even knows that it's not going to work. Like, the line about, you know, let's go do the impossible is them both acknowledging this is never going to work, but we're going to try to do it anyway. But it's just especially bad, like, knowing we're going to watch him try, and knowing that it's going to, like, fail just horribly, and whatever that will be like, because it's not going to be fun. Like, in one of the interviews that I watched today of Dior and Aryan, Aryan said, I feel so bad for Percy and Annabeth because it just never stops with them during this entire season. He said, like, the pace with this season is just relentless. And especially with the two of them, that they just go through, like, everything in the world. And so I feel like we're going to be crying a lot over them. I'm like, everything that they're going through, just being like, can they just get a break?
Yeah.
Like, we thought that episode 4 and 5 was, like, a lot, or episodes, like, 7 and 8 was a lot in season 1. That's going to be, like, nothing compared to Scylla and Charybdis.
Yeah, I forgot which director it was, but someone was talking about how this season gets much more mature, and that's only going to ramp up with season 3. So this is like their warm-up almost, especially Leah's. Poor Leah next season.
I know. And it is like that's what I kind of love about this is, well, I mean, I love every aspect of this, but when we talked about the Demon musical, they... like, rest in peace for people who don't know what I mean. But either way, talking about that is just like, this is going to be a more accurate, in my way of, like, accurate depiction of the Odyssey, like, having, like, the spirit of the Odyssey involved. And that is, like, part of the whole thing of the Odyssey, is that you feel really overwhelmed, like, watching this all, like, happen back to back to back to back, and everything feels much worse because they're children.
Yes.
And they're being forced to do this stuff when they don't want to. And especially, like, I haven't got to the stuff with, like, Allison and stuff yet. She is obviously in here somewhere. But they're going to have, like, Luke's people, like, chasing them down the whole time. Most likely. And so it's not even, like, it already was a lot in the books to read them, like, have the whole interaction with Luke, get away from him, get attacked by the Hydra, then Scylla and Charybdis, then Cersei, then the Sirens, and then Polyphemus, and then Luke tries to stab them, and does stab Percy, and then Thalia's awake. And so it's already, like, a lot in the book, but it's going to be even more in this version of the story.
Yeah,
and so
saying we got to do a watch along. We're gonna
we will
try to plan out our content so that we're, like, doing our episodes on them, like, a lot sooner to when they actually come out. Like, of course, we'll do them live as they're coming out probably, and then they'll be up on YouTube, like, later that week. So it'll be pretty contemporary with when the season's actually playing.
It is, like, the end of July right now. I, like, did a little bit of a calendar thing for Isa, our patron that's talking to us right now. on our Patreon, but I stopped on like the beginning of like September, but we have enough like content to go until like the beginning of February,
Hmm.
at least, of like reading what we're going to read, and then The Last Olympian, to get ready for The Last Olympian, and then The Last Olympian, and then rewatching season one, and then watching season two, and then probably talking about season two for a while before we like try to attempt to move on to something else or
Yeah.
talk about. And also, just a reminder that the filming for Titan's Curse ends in the first week of March. So this entire time, all of that stuff is going to be coming out and happening simultaneously. And so there's
Yeah.
going to be, and also a new book with Nico and Will comes out at the end of September.
Yeah, I'm not caught up to there though, so it might
We're
take us a
not at
while to
all,
get to
but it's
the
just like,
yeah.
it's just more things, like more like interviews, more chances for people, for Rick to talk about his redactions of whatever they're working on and things like that. So there's in no way like an issue with us figuring out things to talk about.
Yeah.
And it is like good timing that the episodes come out on Wednesdays when we've already been doing another episode on Wednesday, so we don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
That's easy. Just like literally like just put up us watching it and crying, and then and put that up on YouTube the next day. That's simple. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Okay. But okay, this part is about Clarisse. That's why I made that face. Is because the first shot they show of Clarisse in the trailer is, I'm pretty sure, her walking onto the island where her and Percy end up fighting.
Yeah.
Because it looks like she went to like meet them on like a little boat thing. But like Clarisse is probably going to be one of my favorite characters after this season,
Yeah.
and I'm so excited.
Yeah,
I'm so
Dior's doing a
excited.
great job of like giving us just enough that we're like, wait, what's gonna happen with Clarisse? Because she's been talking about like you get to see a little bit more of her motivation, you get to see a little bit more of her background, and she even talked about like relating to her background. I was like, oh honey, I hope your dad's like a nice person. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, what does that even mean?
I know. To say like the quote that she said it a couple times. She said it during the panel. She said it, and she did a YouTube video with somebody where she ate like sour candy and asked questions. I don't know.
Hmm.
That's an interesting YouTube concept, I suppose. And
Yeah.
um and then she mentioned it in a couple other interviews that I watched of her, but she essentially, the thing she said in the panel that I really liked was, she said that it was really therapeutic for her to play Clarisse because their outlook and their upgrade and their upbringing was very similar. And so it was really therapeutic for her to get to like play somebody going like figuring out this stuff, the same things that she had to figure out in her own life.
This makes everything worth it, and you kind of lose yourself in that process. I know for me it was really, really therapeutic playing Clarisse because her and I's life is very scarily similar in our mindset and the way that we think and the way that we were raised.
And of course, we heard that and we were like, do you need us to adopt you?
Yeah.
Because we will right now
Yeah.
if you need it. But yeah, because whenever I see that of her saying she had a similar life as Clarisse, and I was like, oh no, I don't want that. Like, sweetheart, like you're only like 18, about to be 19, but still, oh goodness. But she was talking about the quote that I really liked that she said during the Comic-Con panel was, she said, I feel like everybody on the show feels like this, but I feel like it's like worth it to kind of figure out how to feel about that, like go through that process of like acting things out that you've been through before, when it's for like a higher purpose, meaning for like
Yeah.
to do it for like to make this show better, and that it's like really worth it to do that because it's all for like this higher purpose of this show that they're doing together. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what we do too. Thanks for like understanding.
Yeah.
But it was like that's literally why you do that stuff, is because it's for like a bigger reason, and so it's worth it to try. But either way, she said that, and I was like, oh my god. And she also, one thing that on the YouTube channel that she was on, one thing I really liked that she said on there was, she was talking about the things that they do like in what they're doing right now, like the getting the boot camp stuff. for the next season, they said that they basically go into meetings a lot with Andrew, who is their acting coach. And they go into, like, she said, like somebody on that show asked, like, the host on the show asked her, like, what other character would you want to play? And she was explaining how when they do these sessions with Andrew, they go into, like, how complex every single character is on the show. And so she was saying, like, I want to play everybody, because doing those interviews, you understand everyone so much that you just, like, love all of them and just want to be all of them. And I'm like, yeah, that's what it's like reading a book when the characters are written really well. Like, there's nobody besides the people that you're supposed to hate, like Octavian in Heroes of Olympus, or even like Luke. But Luke himself is still a very complex character. One of the things with him I always get annoyed by is that we don't have the space ever to just, like, talk about the complexities of his character. Because whenever you start to be, like, a little bit nice to him, like, all of a sudden people pop up saying, like, oh yeah, Luke had a point and he just did it the right way. And you're like, oh my God, no. And so you're like, you can't really talk about the complexities of his character very much. It's really hard to do it because people, I don't want to do that and then lead to people, like, you know, trying to justify what he's doing like that. That's the opposite of what I want. Like, you can talk about somebody like him being really complex without talking about the complexities of him to, like, lessen the things that he's done, I guess, is the best way to put that. But either way, during that part, she was talking about how when she gets ready for a lot of the phrases I heard some of them use was getting in the character's nervous system. And so she talked about how when she's on set, her and Andrew, the acting coach, she just kind of figured out by going to him with, like, she basically wanted him to ask her certain questions that would help her get into, like, the nervous system of Clarisse. And so they figured out this thing that before every scene, he would ask her certain questions, and the way that she would answer would, like, bring up, like, traumatic things that Clarisse had been through to, like, explain why she is, like, the way that she is. And then she's like, and then after he would do that, I'm in the character's nervous system and I'm ready to go. And I'm just gonna go. And because she was basically just talking about the different ways that the actors get ready. The funniest image, which is just fits Thalia so much, is she said that Tamara would just, like, chug a Red Bull and be, like, ready to go. And I'm like, yeah, that's the person that is, like, born to be Thalia. Is somebody who, she said, and she's like, wow, what a woman. Like, I could never do that. But the other stuff that she said is that this is something that we heard, like, Leah especially say earlier. They talk about camp as, like, their family. And so there is a couple interviews where she says, like, the thing that I'm really excited about is, she said the overall story with Clarisse this season is that she learns that just because her dad does everything on his own does not mean that it's going to work that way for her. And so her whole story this season is about, like, accepting community, like, accepting help from, and the way she put it was, like, she learns to get help from her family. Yeah. And she means the kids at camp. And she said, like, Percy is a huge part in that. She's like, Percy is a huge, huge part in that. And on, like, the YouTube channel she was on, she was like, book fans, like, you know what I'm talking about. But she's, you know, she can't, like, say more for people who haven't read them yet. But she just said, like, Percy is a huge part of that story. And it's just, this season is about, and she mentioned that one of her favorite scenes of this season was her, like, really putting her heart out there to somebody and seeing how that person, like, responds to her doing that. And it's just, it's going to be the best storyline ever. It's going to make me cry a lot in really good ways, because that's exactly what it's like when you're, like, the daughter of a really violent, angry man. Yeah. That's exactly what it's like. Like, feeling like you need to be, like, strong and tough all the time because you've never had any other option literally ever in your entire life not to be. You're not, like, making a choice. It's just, is either that or die. And so she's, like, finally learning during this quest when she's out there and everything goes wrong that, you know, she needs help. And that's the overall story with, like, the gods and stuff anyway. That, like, the whole storyline that these books do really well is they show you without, like, being really obvious about it that, like, whenever they try to impress the gods, they always end up going against their own people, like their own demigods, their own family.
Yeah.
And there's no way to try to like kiss ass to the gods, including Kronos as being one of them, without hurting every other person around you that's exactly like you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, that's the only way to ever do it. And every time somebody does it, they either realize that what they're doing is wrong, or they just keep going with it.
Yeah.
If you're Luke, anyway, he's like the only one that really, you know, fully went in like that, so far at least. But either way, it's just really exciting to think about her getting to have such a great storyline. I'm really excited about that. She is a really interesting character, and the fact that she's up in Vancouver makes me happy that they're going to figure out something to do with her in season 3. Because after having her have a good storyline this season, I don't want her to just have a storyline that people are probably going to really like and then just like disappear in the next season, just
Yeah.
because that's what it's like in the books. But like we've said a million times, the books are not like, or the show is not going to be exactly like the books because it's a TV show.
Yeah,
It's not a
and
book.
I keep going back to Rick saying he wants to do, or he wish he would have done more with Clarisse's
Yeah.
character, because the show is the perfect place to do it.
Yeah, and she is a really interesting character in the books. Like, you just can tell that there's so many things, like, going on with her, especially the bits that you do get of her in Sea of Monsters, and you just, like, she's always off on these, like, mysterious adventures in the 3rd and 4th book, and you just, like, want to know what's going on. But
Yeah.
they don't, like, have a chance to, like, tell you. Like, the whole thing in Battle of the Labyrinth, like, Annabeth and her being, like, friends, basically, and Percy's like, what's
Yeah.
happening? Why don't I know about this kind of stuff? Of like, how did this happen? And it's just, you know, there's like all these things going on with her. They just never have the time in the books to really like sit down and go into it, but they definitely do now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really exciting to see that. And so the other quote she said that I'm really excited about is, she said, the quote is, "You get to dive into her psychology and the things that she's been through in her life." She's like, "I had this one scene with Adam, who plays Ares, which
Mm-hmm.
was one of my favorite scenes to shoot all season, where you can just see years of trauma laid out right in front of you, and it's done in such a beautiful way, and it was written in such a beautiful way." And I was
Yeah.
like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, so the one scene we get of that in the books is like a vision of Ares yelling at her that she doesn't know that Percy saw.
Yeah.
So it could potentially be that, or it could be something completely new.
Or both. Like,
Yeah.
it, no matter what it is, like this scene of whatever that is, there's likely going to be, I don't think that they would have Adam come back to do the show and just have him do like one scene. I
Mm-hmm.
think that he's likely going to do more than one scene with her, but it does like, it does horribly, like horrifically, traumatizingly make sense that Ares would show up after the ship was blown up to yell at her.
Oh, yeah.
And like, you don't see that in the books because everything is from Percy's perspective, and he doesn't know that she's alive until they get to Polyphemus's island. But
Yes.
this show is not from that perspective, and so they could very much show us that, and show us like him screaming at her about what a failure she is, and I should have given this quest to like one of your brothers instead of you, a girl.
Yeah.
Anytime like your dad says that, I think that we should get to kick them in the nuts. Like, I still fantasize about doing that to my dad, and he's been dead for a really long time, for 11 years. But I used to think
Yeah.
about it when he was alive, but I was like, I think he might kill me if I do that. So I never got to try. I really wanted to, though. But
Yeah.
you should be able to do that whenever they say something like that to you, which is a lot. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he says more. Like, it feels to me, when I imagine her storyline like that, I imagine like him showing the scene with her, with him being like that with her on the ship, and then just to like kind of introduce that as like
Yeah.
a clue of like what's going on with her. Because before that point in the season, she's just being horrible to Percy, and you're like, what are you doing? Like, why are you being mean to the precious child? Like, stop being mean to Percy. And like stealing the quest from him basically and saying like I don't care about Grover
Yeah.
basically. And it's like I need to go on my quest my own, and then they like literally fight in this version of it before she even lets them like get on their ship and or her ship, and and then the whole thing with the ship and everything is like
Hmm.
her refusing to like not just like go right into Scylla and Charybdis when they're telling her like this is never going to work, but she just is like I don't have it, like I can't like back down basically.
Yeah.
And so and it literally like blows up in her face. And so it would be very like in line with how Ares is and how the gods are for him to show up and do that. Oh,
Hmm.
Sophia says that Dior confirmed that she wins the fight, which like yeah, she would. Like
Yeah.
she's older than him. And knows what to do more than Percy at that stage. I am sure that there'll be think pieces about that on YouTube,
Oh my gosh.
that a girl beat Percy in a fight, but it's like Percy doesn't want to actually hurt her.
Yeah, I'm sure, like, I know the scene we get, it's like he's fully in the fight, but I'm sure he doesn't actually even want to be fighting her there.
No. And like that scene with her and Ares, I went back to find our second podcast ever where
Hmm.
half of it you're like standing in your bathroom
Oh
doing
yeah, I
your
was doing my
makeup,
makeup. Yeah.
and it's like oh my god. But in that podcast I say like if they give me that scene of like Clarisse being an angry daughter with a horrible dad, I'll write like Rick Riordan a thesis. And somebody, and I'll be, I guess I'll do this in January. And they were like, what about, it's going to come out in December. And I'm like, do you think I can write a thesis that fast? Like, I'm going to be busy watching the show. It's going to be like the end of January when I have time to actually write that. But I
Hmm.
probably will, just
Yeah.
because of how happy I'll be about the fact. It's like, I guess the thing about our friend Sky that guested on one of our episodes once, did a video this week that I really liked where she was talking about how Annabeth is like the perfect example of somebody who has like emotionally abusive and neglectful parents. But like when you come from a house more like mine or like Percy's that is more like violent, you think that they're not that bad. And
Hmm.
overall, like the Percy Jackson books are most of the characters are just showing different kinds of abuse
Yes.
in all of these different kids. And that's like one of my favorite things about this book series is that they just introduce all these different characters dealing with different things. And Clarisse is a character where there you don't very often, I guess, see the like angry girl character like that who has a really abusive dad,
Hmm.
and she's like that because of that dad without her being a bully because of it. Usually that's the
Yeah.
only time you see somebody like that. And like growing up, that was very like mixed messages because I was like, am I a bad person then? I guess so. I'll just believe that because I already think that anyway.
Yeah, and very
Because that's
seldom do they get redemption for
no.
being a bully.
No, it's always like their sad little backstory is something like that to like that tries to make you like humanize them a little bit, but they're still always seen as like mean or angry or whatever.
Hmm.
They're never usually fully seen as their own person. And so to have a character like Clarisse that has a really abusive dad like Ares is, that is really scary because of how much power and stuff he has.
Hmm.
And to have her be seen as like the idea of the scene that Clarisse that Dior described, where like Clarisse is like putting her heart out there for somebody and is getting like really emotional and probably cries and things like that. Just the
Hmm.
idea that you can show somebody like that that is like angry and like defiant and to some people, but just tough, but also cries is something that you usually don't see very often. In the
Yeah.
same way that Annabeth is this like really smart girl, but also is being groomed by somebody, because just because you're intelligent like academically doesn't mean that you can't be used by somebody that loves you or you think loves
Yeah.
you. And it's like they always work against kind of like the stereotypes that people usually have for kids, especially that are being abused, and make them like actual real people as opposed to like these weird like caricatures. Even like Percy at the end of The Lightning Thief being like, we must murder Gabe.
Hmm.
And is like, he leaves it up to Sally, but he still is super fine with his mom killing Gabe. There's none of that stuff of him being like, oh, I should like, try to understand him, or or forgive him or whatever. It's like, no, I fucking hate that guy. And also, I hate Dionysus, and I hate Ares, and I hate Zeus, and I hate Luke, and I hate Kronos, and I hate every man that ever reminds me of any of those people.
Yep.
That's it. Like, there's none of that stuff of him being like, I should be nicer to those people. And it's like, no, those people should be glad that I have, like, ethics and morals and don't want to hurt people. He doesn't actually like to fight too much. He fights when he has to, but otherwise he's not exactly someone that wants to go out there and, like, kill some people. He has way too much, like, guilt about responsibility and stuff for that. So he can do it well, like he's a child of a god, but it's not like he actually wants to do that in any way, shape, or form. And so that's, I'm sure, I'm just, like, picturing the YouTube bros being like, how could Clarisse beat Percy? And it's like, because he doesn't want to hurt her. He doesn't want to kill her. He doesn't want to hurt her at all.
And also, her dad is the literal god of war. Give him a break.
Yeah, and also, she's been at camp way longer than him.
Yeah, she's gotten way more training.
Yeah, it's fine. Oh my god, I can already picture. That's why I'm, like, already, like, preemptively trying to, like, knock down the think pieces before they even happen.
Yeah.
Okay. And the next part is about Tyson, which is why I laughed about just how excited I was to talk about Tyson. So they put out, this is one thing that I didn't tell you about that I thought would be more fun to talk about on here.
Okay.
But the picture they put out on Entertainment Weekly put out a picture of him after they showed him in the trailer. And he's at their house. He's at, like, Sally and Percy's house. In the picture, it's obviously their house because there's, like, nice paintings and things like that sitting behind him. He's at, like, a table, almost looking like it's, like, breakfast time or something, and he's there ready for the day, wearing his shirt for the horrible school that they go to. And so one thing that was interesting was, I forget where they said this, but somewhere in some of the interviews that they did, Daniel and Walker were talking about, and just, like, putting it together, that, like, Tyson is living with them. Yeah. That he's not, like, living on the street, he's living with them. And that's one of the things that, like, if you're going to do a TV show like this and you make Sally Jackson a real character like they did in season 1, like, Sally would never let Tyson live out on the street and just, like, know that he's out in the street. Like, we even brought that up when we were reading the book. But because a book is a book, and it's all from Percy's perspective, and he just kind of offhand mentions it, and then they just, like, move on. You don't really have time to, like, really think about that because you're just moving on to the next thing. Yeah. But with this being a TV show, and you, like, have this characterization of Sally set up, people it doesn't make sense for her to, like, just let him be homeless out on the street when they now, especially since the place that they're living in looks like a lot nicer, they probably are going with the story that she, you know, sold Gabe for money and now has money, and so they live in, like, a nicer, she would never let him do that. And so one of the things that Walker said was that he said, I think, because they were talking about, you know, the whole thing that people say about Percy having, like, all these problems with Tyson, and how in the actual book those things don't really exist. Like, he gets upset with him in, like one part, but most of it is just, like, him in his head being frustrated that everyone at camp is turning against him because they don't like Tyson, and he's like, this is supposed to be the one place where people like me. But there isn't, like, actually that much that he does, like, outwardly that he needs to, like, atone from or whatever, or just almost go through, like, the character development story of, like, realizing that he needs to take care of Tyson. But if you change it where he's living with Sally, when Tyson is living with Sally, then it actually makes sense that he wouldn't like Tyson sometimes, because he just got his mom back. Like, not only because his mom was literally dead for, like, many months, for at least when they were on the quest, he thought that she was dead and wasn't going to come back for a while. Yeah. And they didn't know for sure if she was. But more importantly, Gabe is gone. And so this is the only time since he was, like, 6 years old that he has had his mom. And this is the only time that he's had his mom to himself, where he's going to a school in New York City where he's not like having to like be far away. Like, and so it's like there's always like something like stopping Percy from just having like the time that he wants with his mom. And in this case, it's Tyson, who is a sweet child, but still, it's understandable why he wouldn't like that. Like, why he wouldn't like having to share his time with his mom, even though Tyson is very sweet and everything. But it's like, I finally got rid of the guy that was terrorizing us all this time. I just want to have time with my mom. And now I'm having to like compete with her with somebody else again when I just want to see my mom. And that's a very like, that is actually a way that Percy would be like bothered or whatever by Tyson for a little while, because how it happens in the book doesn't really make sense. But in that context, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Why he would feel like that, and why Tyson would just kind of like stick it out with him in the beginning and just know that he's gonna understand. But also just to say that, that's basically what Walker said. The words he said was like, I think that this is the first time where Percy has like felt safe with like all of the bullies at school and with and changing schools all the time. He finally is like back at home with his mom, and he doesn't want to have to split her time with Tyson. And I'm like, yeah, that is very understandable that he would feel like that. And Daniel talked about how he didn't want Tyson to be played just for laughs, that he wanted to show him as his like own character and talk about the traumatic things that he went through before he found Percy and stuff. Yeah. And he basically said that that's exactly what the writing is like for him. They balance all of that stuff really well, of him being like this like eternal kid basically, or just being younger even though he looks older. And
yeah, I think we said this last week in the Entertainment Weekly. They said 8 years old specifically.
Yeah. Like, he's, like, that's, like, the mental capacity he has. And, like, the thing I was going to say was that the scenes of, like, Percy not really liking him all the time cannot be that bad, because I was looking for another picture, and I, like, scrolled by and saw the picture of when they were filming the scene where they're outside, like, right after the last Riordan, and they still have on, like, the jackets from their school. And Annabeth shows up and like puts her like dagger up to Tyson. These pictures always make me laugh because Tyson's like jacket sleeves are like way too short because they're he's too big. Yeah. It's really funny where like how his jacket sleeves are too short and the one on Percy is like too big. And like so nothing like fits them right, and like his jacket is too short and his pants are like 2 sizes too big. And so I'm pretty sure they just gave him clothes that was, like, left over at the school. But the picture that I'm talking about is, like, I remember from the filming of that scene, like, the videos of it, that Annabeth just, like, takes, you know, her hat off. And she's suddenly there, like, holding a dagger up. And Percy starts yelling at her before Tyson even puts him down. He's, like, carrying him. Tyson picks up Percy and carries him out of the school. That happens in the book, too. Yeah. And in the show, he's doing that. He's carrying him around outside, and all of a sudden Annabeth does that, and he's yelling at her before he tells Tyson to put him down. And I remember from the filming of it, you can see, like, Percy talk to Tyson, like, it's gonna be okay, blah, 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 I'll talk to her. And then he turns around and looks like he's about to murder Annabeth. He's so mad. He's so mad. His face looks so mad. And his body language is, you know, the kind of, like, body language you have when you're, like, angry at someone and you start yelling at them and your body is just, like, twitching because you're angry. That's, like, his body language during that part when he's walking up to her. And I'm sure you can see her just being like, oh, shit. But, yeah, so either way, like, he's really fucking pissed at Annabeth during that scene for wanting to hurt Tyson. So no matter what, like, the story arc he does, and especially, it's very understandable. I always like defend this sort of thing, that it's really hard when you've been bullied a lot and you find a place where people are nice to you. It's the worst thing in the entire world when you realize that the place where people are nice to you, they're starting to not be nice to you anymore. And that's basically what happens when he gets to camp. Suddenly everyone's not being nice to him anymore, just because of Tyson. And that's
Yeah.
difficult. And like, yeah, he's going to have some moments because he's a kid and that's just like what you do. Like when people in my dance class started turning against me because my dad didn't let me go for 3 months, I just stopped going. Like I literally just told my mom I never want to come back here. And my mom tried to convince me to go anyway because I actually really liked dance and the teacher was trying to get me to go still because she said I was good at it. And I was just like, no, everyone in the class hated me because I just disappeared. Like they all didn't like me and they used to all like me. That was like one of the only places that I would go that people would be nice to me. And so
Yeah.
I just told my mom, no, I can't do this. And I never like explained fully to her like why, but that was why. I was like, I cannot handle a place where someone was the only place that I went to at that time because school was horrifying during those years too, that people weren't bullying me. I refused to have that happen in this one place where they're not supposed to. And so I just stopped going. So at least Percy doesn't like just up and leave camp. Like right now, like he can't really do that. But still, like that's the other option is just like up and leaving and being like, never mind, bye.
Yeah.
But one thing with Tyson that I thought was really interesting, just like special effects wise, that this is really cool. They have to like tell me, and by me I mean us, the audience, how the hell they figure this out because I've generally never heard of a production doing like this sort of special effects before. And so Tyson's eye is Daniel's eye. It's not like it's not like CGI. It's his actual eye. And so they said
Oh.
like his eye, that is Daniel's eye, is going to match like the emotions of the scene. And so when he's in a scene and he's sad, his eye will be sad. Because they just took one of his eyes that from when they were like initially filming the scenes. And so
Yeah.
that eye is going to show like it's not like a fake eye. It's
That's
his
probably
real.
why they did it that way. Because we
Yeah.
were talking about this when we found out that he wasn't wearing like any sort of prosthetics or anything. We were like, okay, what is it gonna look like? Yeah, they did that so they could track the eye's movements. Then apparently.
Yeah. And it's just that's such a cool idea. I've legitimately never heard of a show doing something like that before.
Yeah.
And it's just and that's why Becky was talking about it because of course there's probably some people out there on the internet who don't like his eye because there's always somebody being weird about special effects
Yeah.
somewhere. But she said that just to explain, like maybe people think that it's like CGI when it's not it's his actual eye. It's not like fake. It's just his eye. And I'm like, that's so cool because imagine like seeing scenes of like Tyson being mad and the eye looks mad, or Tyson
Yeah.
being sad and the eye looks sad. That's gonna make him look like such a more like real person than he otherwise already is as like precious baby Tyson, just being
Yeah.
that's being precious Tyson. Like Sophia told me that when they revealed Tyson at the end of this trailer, the Hall H room just started like screaming so loud because we all loved Tyson so much.
Yeah.
And already in interviews, Leah was like, they have to somehow bring Daniel back because he was so much fun, like on set. She said he was really funny, and she's like, I don't care how, they have to somehow bring him back one day, because they don't want to, because he's probably not going to be in much of season 3, and if he isn't in it at all.
Yeah.
I hope he is because I just love Tyson, and
Maybe they'll keep Percy's phone call to him.
yeah, and I'm pretty much like always permanently in the books hoping that Tyson will show up. So
Yeah.
it's just gonna be like that on the show too. And let's see. Oh yeah, okay. The next thing is there's a screenshot in the trailer after this where I didn't realize this when I first watched it because there was just like too many things happening. There always are things in trailers like this that other people notice that it takes me longer to like realize what it is. It's Percy crying, and it's like he's like soaking wet, and it's like when Tyson dies, but it's
Yeah.
it's like it's a close up of like Walker's face, and you can see that he's crying. And I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, this child is going to kill everybody this season.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was like, I know that this is going to happen. Like, I know that, like, Tyson is going to die. Or he's going to think that he's going to be dead. But I was just, like, looking at that, like, we're actually going to have to watch this. Like, we're going to have to watch Percy, like, be like, I can go into the Sea of Monsters and I can help everybody and I can save everyone and I can figure out a way how to get through, like, Scylla and Charybdis because my dad is the god of the ocean, right? I should be able to handle this, only for the ship to literally explode after he can't get Tyson to go down there and try to help save it because he's Tyson. Of course he wants to go down there and try to help them save the ship.
Yeah.
And then to think that entire ship explodes and he's going to think that Tyson died and that he wasn't able to save him.
Yeah,
And like that,
was reminding me that's the moment where he says, "I wish I could drown." Like,
yes.
but he can't because of his water powers.
The reason why I realized what that scene was somebody made a TikTok with that quote on it, with that picture, and I was like, oh fuck, that's what that moment is of him thinking that he just wants to. He basically thinks that and then passes out. And that's like how the chapter ends with Scylla and Charybdis. So like the end of the episode is probably going to be that or something like that. And we're just going to leave like that episode really upset. And just being like, what the fuck is wrong with whoever? We can just blame Luke. That's fine. He is the one that,
Luke's fault anyway.
I mean, he is the one that poisoned, like literally stabbed Thalia. So he is the reason why they're having to do all of this anyway in the first place. And then we're going to, like, literally count down the minutes until they put out the next episode. And hopefully they will show us that Tyson is alive before they tell us in the books. But the whole time I'm just going to be wanting to jump in the screen and tell Percy, like, he's okay. And also Annabeth is going to feel really bad.
Yeah.
For being so hard on Tyson. They're just going to be, like, sad little babies. And we're going to be like, oh my God. Like, we're just supposed to watch them feel like this and not have a reaction? That's not fair. But either way, I saw that picture and I was like, oh, Christ. That's like a sad scene in this book, but that's not even, like, one of, like, the huge ones that you can imagine will happen also in this season with other people. And also Percy, but also other characters. The next part of the trailer is when they show Allison. Yes. And so they said her name is Allison Sims, who is the new character for season 2 that they made up. She has a bow and arrow, so people are assuming that she's a child of Apollo, but I feel like that's too boring.
That's a little on the nose, and it can also still be Artemis because they both do bow stuff. So
yeah, and I don't.
Oh wait, no, she doesn't have children. Duh.
Yeah, what I was gonna say was, like, I feel like it's too predictable for them to have her be a child of Apollo when the first thing they show us is that they could be doing that just to make it obvious who her dad is, and it does in a weird way, like, just have the idea of Apollo in your mind since he's probably gonna be in season 3. But the thing that I also realized was she's in the same place that there's a scene in one of the clips that they put out before they gave us any of this actual information. There's that one clip of Percy, like, running with the golden fleece, and he has, like, some sort of stab wound or something. He's in the same place as she is in this scene. Like, it looks like the basement or something on Luke's ship. And when you think about it, her, like, stab wound is probably one of her arrows. Because it kind of looks like one, like where it is on him. And so maybe she shoots him with an arrow before he even runs into Luke.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And I was like, okay. Like, Luke doesn't have to be the one to hurt him every single time, because she also is hurting him because of Luke. And Luke does more than enough in this trailer and also in this season. Hey. And
the way you know Luke does a lot is, okay, we talked last week about how in that article, Leah was saying there's emotional scenes she had a lot of trouble filming. Mm-hmm. She side-eyes Charlie every time they talk about things Luke does.
She said during, like, the press at Comic-Con, she said in multiple interviews that Luke is a monster. Mm-hmm. Like, when people, like, Sophia asked, like, who her favorite monster is of the season, she said Luke. She said Luke and other things in one of those, like, an interview the interview that Walker did a couple months ago, where somebody asked him, like, oh, what monster would you fight Like, do you think you could fight? That's in, like, season 2. And he said Luke. He's like, Luke's a monster, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And at some point, I can't find, like, the interview itself, but I know that it happened because so many people have brought it up who make videos about Luke that I always end up seeing. Because, duh. They said that that Leah said that Luke is Annabeth's, like, biggest monster. And I was like, yeah. And, like, there is, like, that one interview that I did happen to see where the person who was like, Percy's really mean to Tyson. And I was like, who are you, ma'am? Who have you been talking to where you're asking these, like, really weirdly pointed questions where Walker feels like he needs to now, like, defend his character? Calm down. And, like, one of the other things she was like, oh, the fans really like Luke and they agree. And she starts talking about, like, oh, the gods. And I literally just said, stop, because I, like, don't want to hear any more of this. But when she said, like, oh, a lot of fans are on Luke's side, and, like, Leah was like, who? Like, literally just yelled out, who? And you see, like, Walker and Aryan both, like, look down, like, make this face, like, ew. So...
Yeah, they've literally had to live it at this point. So even if the kids read it and felt that way, you can tell it's totally been erased. But no, we get the side eyes. We even get Charlie in some of these interviews talking about how it was hard to be Luke this season.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's no denying it anymore for all the Luke defenders.
Yeah, one of the clips from the Seaweed Brain podcast, I think, was one of those. It was either them or Monster Donut. They're all putting out clips from, like, the same time when they interviewed all of the cast members. But they asked, like, Charlie and Leah, like, if you two could talk and see if monsters the way that Grover and Percy would talk, like, what would you say? And Annabeth said she would just ask why, like, just why. And I don't mean, that is quite literally what I imagine I will do when I see my dad one day in, like, the afterlife. Like, people ask me sometimes, like, what would you say to him? And that's all I would ever want to ask is, like, why? Like, why was any of this necessary? Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, that's all I want to hear from you. Otherwise, get away from me.
Exactly.
And that's, like, yeah, that's all she would want to know. And Charlie tries to say, like, oh, he would probably try to convince her to join him again. And she's like, which would not work. And he said something about how, like, oh, I think that Luke really thinks that this is, like, what's best for them. And I'm like, no, he doesn't, but that's fine. Like, you're an actor who's having to play Luke. That would not be easy to play a character like Luke, but he isn't doing it because he thinks it's what's best for them. It's what's best for him. Those are two very different things. But either way, it looks like Allison, shoots Percy with an arrow. That's fun. Before he fights Luke. So that's just, like, fun and exciting stuff. And, like, either way, if she has a bow and arrow as some of her, like, weapons of choice, I suppose, it'll be a lot harder for them to know when she's coming, because she could be hiding, like, farther away, and they won't be able to see her, especially on Polyphemus's island. She could just be, like, hiding in the forest, in the trees somewhere. And then suddenly she's there trying to kill them all with arrows. And so it does make her dangerous in that way. And that's, like, the idea of her is that she's just, like, super for Kronos and helping, like, Luke's cause and just doesn't care about anything else. So that's fun.
Honestly, I hope they do kind of a lover boy plot with Luke and her, just because that is his mode of manipulation that we find out about later. And so having that, like, already established earlier, it's going to be even more devastating when we see him do it to somebody else.
Yeah, and I will say, in one of those interview clips from the podcast, Charlie brought up the idea of, like, oh, maybe Luke feels more things for Thalia. And he said, like, that's not me, like, confirming anything. He just based that on his diary of, like, the demigod diary story of Luke's diary. And there's always a part of me whenever that stuff is brought up that, like, I just wish that there could be, like, a male, any sort of friendship anyway, that people don't immediately want them to, like, date.
Yeah.
I always wish for that, like, there could be at least a couple of them like that, like, people don't wish that they would get together instead.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if there was some stuff like that going on with them just because of like a lack of boundaries overall with
Yeah.
them in that situation. But he said like I'm not like, saying anything definitively that that's going to happen, but it is possible that he felt like that
Mhm.
about her at one point, or she might have felt that way about him. And then the thing that he said about her running into him in season 3, he was just like, that's going to be like crazy when Luke runs into Thalia. That's what he's excited about filming in Titan's Curse. And I'm like, yeah, that will be like, watch out.
Yeah, I want to see you get kicked off of Mount Tam.
Everybody does. Like, it would
Yeah.
just be like, I'll just keep posting that clip over and over again. Like, over and over again. Anytime somebody defends Luke, just post that clip.
Mhm.
Thank you for the show for giving us that gift like a
Oh
year
my
in the
gosh.
future. We'll really appreciate it when we get there.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is some of the stuff where like Luke stuff is different from the books, and it makes me like excited.
Mhm.
Which is that the part of the trailer where you can see him with Backbiter. In the very beginning of the trailer, you see I had no idea what this was. In the beginning part of the trailer where there's like a bunch of fog,
Mhm.
and then you see like I didn't notice
Yeah,
that
like some sort of
Backbiters.
army.
Yeah, and I just didn't know who those people were at all. I was just like, what is this? I don't know.
Mhm.
Um but rewatching it, Backbiter is like glowing, and as they're walking up, and I realized after watching it once, I went back to look at it again, and I'm like, oh, because I was like, where is he? Where there's like trees and stuff, and I'm like, oh, he's at camp.
Yep.
Like he's at camp. He's like ambushing camp in season 2. Like, let's go, dudes. But
Yeah.
damn, he's trying to get into camp and actually like showing up with his little army of terrible people to try to get into camp, and with like his horrible glowing sword,
Mhm.
and is actually trying to do it. Like, okay, that's that's like different, but also Jesus Christ. And so this part is when it gets like wild. Like, this is like the part when I mean, I've said this before that like the Luke like sympathizers, I guess, like you're like the clock is ticking on you being able to justify this stance. And
Mhm.
like Rick Riordan in Entertainment Weekly said, one of the best like overall storylines of season 2 is the idea that even though Luke is like this strong, intelligent, like smart kid, that he can be manipulated by people more powerful and more manipulative than him to do things that he normally out without Kronos wouldn't have done these things, but he ends up doing them anyway.
Mhm.
Not to say like, oh, it's all Kronos' fault, but just to say like, yeah, he was manipulated by him, but this is him actually doing these things. Like, he got manipulated by somebody when he thought he couldn't be, and ends up doing like, and this is one of those scenes when people watch it, it's going to be very hard for people to try to like defend him doing these things, because the scene that they show is Luke trying to stab Percy to death.
Mhm.
Like, they also show a clip of him, like a very short clip of Percy and him fighting on the ship. You can tell that it's his ship, the Princess Andromeda. He's like, Percy is holding the Golden Fleece.
Mhm.
And I think it was Sophia who brought this up. I can't, like, tell me if I'm wrong, but somebody told me that they wondered if Luke got the Golden Fleece and Percy is literally like picking it up and trying to run away from him with it and trying to steal it back from him.
Mhm.
And I was like, maybe like it, like the way that he's like desperately running from
Yeah.
him, it could be that. It could also be like what we were saying kind of like last week, that I feel like everything that's going to culminate with all these different storylines, they're all going to culminate with all of them being on his ship at the same time in the last episode, regardless. Like
Yes.
Clarisse and Percy and Annabeth and Grover and Luke. And so, regardless, they're probably going to get separated when they're on his ship anyway. And one of
Mhm.
them is they're probably going to toss around the Golden Fleece to whoever can get off the ship first. But it could be that, like, maybe he does get it from Clarisse or something, and
Yeah.
then Percy has to like run in and try to steal it from him, and that's the reason why he goes in and like baits him on purpose for their fight, because he knows he has to go in there and stop him from getting it. But either way, like, because he's holding the fleece and like Luke is doing like literally the exact scene that you see in the book. Like I feel like I've seen a couple videos the last couple days of people being like, oh my god, Luke is more evil in the TV show than he is in the book. I don't remember any of this stuff. And me in the comments just being like, Luke tried to stab Percy to death in the books. He tries to stab Percy to death at the end of Sea of Monsters. And he tries to also force him to watch his best friends get eaten by monsters before he stabs him to death. He's literally standing over him laughing, holding Backbiter up to him, waiting to stab him to death after Annabeth and Grover are eaten. And so that scene does happen like that. The scene that we see in the trailer is at camp, which makes it like, you know, a new thing and scarier, I suppose. And I do think that they're going to have like the big fight scene between them on his ship. We saw a little bit of it, but this is just my guess. So the picture we had of Percy during the first chariot race scene, where he's holding up like the boombox to scare away the birds. He doesn't have on the like orange Camp Half-Blood shirt underneath his armor. He just has on like the blue shirt or whatever when he's holding it up. But in this scene, he has on like a Camp Half-Blood shirt over the like blue shirt that he had on underneath. So this is like my best guess at this point. I think this is in the last episode. And I think that they're going to make it back to camp. They're going to like put the golden fleece on the tree and everything. And because one of the things that's in Sea of Monsters is, you know, the beginning of the book, they have the first chariot race scene where Clarisse is technically the winner because she like hides from all of the birds, and Percy and Annabeth scare all the birds away, and then they come back and Tantalus just like names her the winner because he just like likes Aries, and that's basically all that is. And she wins, but it's like she doesn't really deserve to win, but she wins anyway. But it's like it starts a whole argument because that's when he gives her the quest, and of course like Percy's upset about it. That scene is also it's like one of the only scenes like of them talking back and forth that you see in the trailer is Dionysus being like, Peter, you did something last year, but I don't remember what it was. And I was like, save the world? Like you don't remember that he went to Olympus and like told Zeus straight to his face that he was a horrible father and his entire family hates him. I think it's so funny, just as an offshoot of that scene, that there are people that think that Percy is like too like nice or calm or doesn't have attitude in the TV show. And I'm like, he told Zeus to his face that he's a terrible father and his entire family hates him, and they are so desperate to turn against him that Ares turned against him without anything because he tries to control everybody, and it's never gonna work. Like, he gives him back the lightning bolt, and then Zeus almost tries to kill him with the lightning bolt he gave him. Because he tells him, yeah, you're a horrible dad. And I'm like, yeah, shouldn't you always say that to people that are horrible dads? Just tell them you're a horrible dad. Exactly. That's what you should do anyway. But anyway, so during this scene, like, he has like on that yellow, the Camp Half-Blood shirt. So this is just like my educated guess, is that, you know, the first chariot race, they're arguing about who's winning. The area gets all ruined and destroyed and stuff by the birds attacking everybody. There's a shot of that in the trailer too, of like one of the chariots like broken, and you can see like kids like literally like laying on the ground and like people helping each other up and like walking away after all that happens. And then at the end of the book, they do the chariot race when they come back to camp, and like, you know, Annabeth kisses like Percy on the cheek and everybody cheers, and they get to like actually, they're on the same team because they're not fighting about Tyson anymore, and everything is like good. And then he goes to sleep and has a horrible nightmare about Kronos, and then wakes up to Thalia being back alive. But there's at least like a little bit of like happy togetherness stuff after Tantalus is gone and Chiron is back, and they feel like things are starting to get better before Kronos like ruins everything by dramatically telling Percy about you know, Thalia coming back to life. But with this version, because they've talked about like bringing up like getting ready for Titan's curse, you can't really have like this nice ending like
Yeah.
that while you're like getting ready to go into Titan's Curse. And so I feel like, especially when I think about the quote that Charlie said in the Entertainment Weekly article was that this season he is trying to convince Percy and Annabeth to join him. And when he realizes that they're not going to join him, you see how far he will go in order to win.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no. When I saw like those clips, I was just like, oh God, because to me it looks like they do the chariot race at the end of the season when everybody like comes back to camp and they do the golden fleece thing and everything seems fine and they think that everything is okay. And just from how like, there's like screenshots of like Percy's face during this part, like before he actually tries to stab him to death. And he is so messed up. There is blood all over his face.
Yeah.
Like everywhere. And it's just, so that makes me feel like Luke ambushes them. That they're doing like the chariot race. They think that they're safe. They think that they've like fixed camp. They think that he can't get in, but he somehow finds a way to get in. His sword is like can open portals. And so maybe he uses one to somehow get into camp. And either way, I feel like he just ambushes them with his little army in a way where none of them expected him to be there. And he shows up and like kicks the absolute shit out of Percy. Like he looks not good at all. And then is like about to stab him to death. And then there's like a trident that comes in to stop him. And so people are like wondering like who's stopping him. That's going to be one of those things that we're going to be wondering about. One thing I thought was funny, the picture that I went to look for when I found the other like filming pictures was there's this picture of Percy and Annabeth and Grover together all wearing like camp shirts in like the in like the health room, like where you go when you're injured room. I never know how to say that word, but
Infirmary?
when they like Leah just posted that picture as in like at the end of the year, and like on like New Year's Eve, I think, when like being like congratulating this year, looking forward to next year sort of post, where she posted some things from set and stuff. But that was one of those where people were like, when are they in that room in Sea of Monsters? Because they don't really do like scenes like that in Sea of Monsters. And they were also like, when are all three of them also like at camp, where all three of them could be in there together? Because, obviously Grover's gone for most of the season. And then this scene happens where Luke almost stabs Percy to death. And I'm like, oh, that's when. That's when they're in there. Is when they put him in there so that Percy doesn't die. Or whatever like state he's left in. But either way, like I know that people are like speculating that the trident, that it might be like Poseidon or something, just because it's a trident. It could be Tyson, obvious, but
Potentially, yeah.
It could be anything. And like I feel like the trident is likely something that he has just when they're like doing the stuff for like the chariot race and things like that. And so you can say like if you have a guess what your guess is, but my guess is that it's Clarisse, because her whole thing this season is about like community and like defending people and helping her demigods, and not like needing to be like on her own to prove that she's the best. And so considering that like Percy, whatever happens with them before this, you would know that Percy likely, I would assume that they're probably going to do the same thing in the books, like that she's the one that brings the Golden Fleece back to camp. Whatever he does and that makes her like accept community. Like Dior literally told us that he's a huge part of her realizing that she can get help from her family and that she doesn't need to prove anything, and that she's stronger with them helping her. And so my like guess at this point is that the person like stopped like saving him in there, and that part is her, not only because that also kind of is like a full circle moment from their first chariot race when they fight, that instead this time it's her helping him, and that would confuse the fuck out of Luke. For her of all people to be helping him and for her to be like, get away from him.
Yeah.
Like get out of here, and for him to like see that he's not going to convince them. And who knows like what else happens to get him to actually leave. Like, part of me watching this is I'm like, is Thalia gonna wake up and like literally see Luke trying to murder people at camp and be like, what are you doing? Because she's gonna wake up at a certain point during this time, and like since he's in camp trying to kill everybody, I'm like, how are they gonna get him to leave? Because he's obviously very like fixated on proving that he can like win this contest that he's invented in his own stupid mind. And so if he's shown up and gone all this way to show up at camp just to try to ambush them and kill them all, and at least kill Percy, I'm like, what is going to make him leave besides like Kronos literally like picking him up and throwing him out of camp and like changing like the whatever that he needs to change magically so that he can't get in anymore. But either way, it's just I really like that they added in that scene. Like I said, I posted a TikTok video that was like, Rick and Becky got tired of seeing people empathizing with Luke, and so they're like, fuck this, Luke is going to try to stab Percy to death in season 2. And like he does try to stab him to death in season 2, but they're making him try to stab him to death twice.
Yes.
And having him do it at camp, and having it be a lot more just like horrifying the second time. Like Percy's not fighting. Like that, I know that clip of the trailer, some people thought that like the trident was Percy, and it's like, no, Percy's literally just laying there. Like he's too messed up, he can't do anything to defend himself. Somebody else has to be the one to stop him because he can't do it. And so like he's like, Luke is like way more just over the line in that last section. Like there's nothing stopping him. He doesn't care about anything or anyone.
I mean, if it does end up being Poseidon that stops him, I wonder, like, what that would do for his character also, because his whole mission is about how the gods don't care about their children. It's like, if a god steps in to help their child like that, kind of echoing what happened with Thalia, like, I don't know. There's something to that, and it would definitely take a little bit of the wind out of his sails.
Yeah, either way, whatever happened, like the thing that is like great about that scene is that whatever happens, it takes the wind out of Luke's sails, because he doesn't stab Percy to death.
Yes.
He's not successful. He doesn't get to win. He showed up at camp to try to feel like he won, even though he lost. And by like killing the person that made him feel bad, that is like abuser logic, to just like hurt the person that made you feel sad instead of thinking about why you actually feel sad.
Yeah.
And either way, like, so no matter what happens, he isn't successful. And also, no matter what happens, he's likely going to see that the kids at camp are, like, going to look at, like, part of this, too, made me wonder, like, maybe they don't do the scene part in the first fight where Percy exposes Luke to all of camp. And maybe instead, this is what exposes Luke to all of camp. Instead of having him, like, accidentally, like, show himself by Percy just like making him sound like instigating him so he screams at camp and all of camp sees how evil Luke is, like it happens in the book. Maybe that scene doesn't happen this time, but then Luke literally showing up at camp just to try to kill him and whoever else is in his way, because it's not like Percy is probably the only one that gets hurt during all of that. And all the other men that and women and people that he brings with him, those people are definitely trying to hurt people, and they're not going to be any nicer than Luke is. And so there's likely going to be a lot of kids that are like hurt from that situation. And so that, if anything, is going to like make the point to everyone at camp, like how bad Luke is and how like lost he is, that there's no way to save him. Or at least like you have to understand how dangerous this person is. And when, especially because the next few books after this is when he's trying to like recruit kids to join him. And so it's like, that makes it very clear, like, where he stands right now. That this is, the thing that I like about this scene, no matter what, is that this is one of those scenes where they're, like, making it very definitive, like, he is a villain. Like, do not hope that he will come back, because he's not going to come back. Like, that is, like, them, like, the show, like, setting out, like, the narrative overall, that, like, this TV show is not going to be a story of Luke, like, redeeming himself. It's not going to be a story of him like turning back before it's too late. It is already too late.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of the thing of this scene that I like, of like like them showing him being, you know, manipulated by Kronos or whatever, but he is the one that does this. Like, he's the one that shows up at camp, walks in there knowing all these kids, and tries to kill Percy in cold blood. Like, nothing is going on at this point. They're not like in a fight. If they're at camp again, nothing is going on.
Yeah.
Like, they're not fighting. Like, the battle is already over. There's no reason for him to be there. And so he's showing up when there's nothing happening between them at the time, just to try to kill him because it made him upset that he won. And that's not an actual reason. And so that, it just very much tells you and like sets like the tone of the overall narrative for him going forward, that like this is not a story where you're going to go back and forth about Luke. If he's good or he's bad, he's bad.
Yeah.
And like you can see moments of him or like be frustrated by Annabeth wanting to believe that there's something still in him to be saved, or watching her likely get manipulated by Luke. And Titan's Curse, the way that Kronos manipulated him, and the way that he manipulates other people too, the way he manipulated Percy in the first season, and things like that. But it also just shows in a good way like how dangerous somebody like him is, that like you just never know what those people are going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why I say like I genuinely didn't know if I was going to like live or die. And I feel like I understand how people who were like in war feel, even though I was not in war because I lived with my dad. And that's like what those people are like. You just never know how angry they're going to get and what their level of anger will mean. It could mean anything. It could mean like they're just mad, or it could mean something like that. And it does just like set up the idea that obviously in Titan's Curse, he kidnaps Annabeth and she's trapped with him for most of the season. And so imagining her trapped in a room, like a cave by herself, holding up the sky with somebody like that. Like, after you see him do things like that, it's like, that's how scared you should be for Annabeth that whole book. And so it just makes the audience remember, especially if it is actually the last scene like I think it is, or the last episode like I think it is, that means that probably the last time you see Luke is going to be him trying to stab Percy to death.
Yeah.
And so that's like the thing that's going to be like in your mind when you see him in the next season, like, I hate you. And like, or whatever else they show. It does honestly make me really curious about how they're going to show Thalia. If they're going to have them do a similar, part of me, this is like the part of me that I think it would be funny. Part of me, because the scene when Thalia comes back in like the book is like the scene is like funny when I was reading it, because it's funny because like Grover runs in to get Percy, and he like is in such shock that Thalia is coming back to life that he can't even like talk, because you know it's that kind of like shock where you just like cannot even form words. And so he keeps trying to tell Percy to just come with him. And Percy's like, oh my God, what could possibly be going on? Like, what is happening? And they go out by like the tree, and there's just Thalia laying there, but he's the only one there that's like never actually met her in person before. And it's so funny because he's like, Grover, what is wrong with you? And like, he's talking to Grover and Annabeth, and he's like, what's wrong with you guys? Go help her. Even like Chiron is like, they're all just sitting there staring like in complete shock that she's alive, and he's the only one that can like actually talk or like make decisions. Yeah. And so he's sitting there like, what are you guys doing? Why are you all standing there? Why isn't anyone helping her? And he goes to like talk to her, and they're like arguing with each other. Oh my God, when she's first like waking up and stuff, and he's like trying to figure out he's trying to ask her questions, and she's like, she says something like, I shouldn't be alive, and he's like, what do you mean? Yes, you're supposed to be alive. This is camp. Of course you're supposed to be alive. And she's like, no, I shouldn't. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's just like, what? And it's just, that scene is so funny that part of me just wants them to do that scene again, but have it be like, you know, the idea of Percy just like walking out by like the tree and just like seeing her sitting there and being like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like, who are you? where'd you come from? Are you here to kill me? What's going on? And like asking her a bunch of questions until she says enough for him to realize who she really is would be really funny, because it's always funny because he's the only one that's never met Thalia before. And so the idea of him being like thinking that she's an intruder until like Grover shows up and probably like falls over when he sees actual Thalia would be great. But also the idea of Thalia very dramatically showing up when Luke is on his killing spree and electrocuting all of them would also be really nice.
Yeah.
That would also be a plus.
Yeah.
And they could do another version of that, but it's fun to think about how they're going to introduce her, because this trailer was really fun. It gave us a lot of stuff. It set a very clear tone for what Sea of Monsters is going to be like. But it also like didn't show anything of Thalia, which is a huge part of the season. There's still so many things that we know are in this season that they didn't show yet in this trailer. And so that's like what makes like a good trailer, is that you know that there's so much more. And the stuff that you're seeing in this trailer already is better than we thought it would be, or like has scenes that we didn't realize would happen, like Luke trying to kill everybody at camp. And so it makes you excited for the things that you know will be like big scenes, and if they will what they will decide to show before we get to like the actual episodes. I don't think that they're going to show us Grover in his wedding dress until we actually get to the episode.
Yeah, they're not going to. They're going to save that because so many people want it.
Which will be fine.
Yes.
That's fine. Oh God, I'm laughing at myself. So the last like note thing I had in here was about the absolute chaos and insanity that happened on Twitter.
Oh my gosh.
This weekend, and the note I left was like, please stop demon children. Because I call the kids that are on Twitter feral demon children. And so they have to, we have to like talk about this because Jesus fucking Christ. And so, I don't even know where to start with that whole situation. I'm going to figure it out.
Let's start with Dior. So,
Yeah.
A lot of it revolved around Dior. People trying to make this imaginary competition between Dior and Leah. I gotta say something as a Leo. It is Leo season. Girlies, makeup, her outfits on point. Y'all are just mad she looks good. Like, that is 100%. It's misogyny. She looks great. And you think she's taking up more attention than Leah. I'm not saying Leah doesn't look good. She's always dressed so beautifully. And, like, even in some of the show promo stuff, like, we've learned that these girls had somebody doing their hair and they got a say. And, like, she looks great in every shot. But people
that's one thing good to keep in mind now that we've seen it, is that Leah and Clarisse, Leah and Dior got to help them figure out their hair for this season. And they have like multiple different styles. Like we've seen just in the pictures and the scenes in the trailer, like 3 different hairstyles for Annabeth.
Yes.
And a couple different ones for Clarisse too. And so it's just really great that they got to have input like that with their character and what they looked like every day on set. But and like Dior and Leah always have the most amazing like fashion stuff going on.
They're a Leo and a Libra. It's what they do.
Yeah. And I will say, before I forget, before we go into that, I just remembered that I wanted to ask you, since if anyone doesn't know, Mandy is going to school right now to learn how to like sew and do fashion and make clothes and stuff. So you actually know things about fashion. I don't know anything about fashion. I called his tracksuit of evil a bathrobe.
Yeah.
Because that's just what it looked like to me. I don't know what anything is. Like people say terms online and I have to like Google it to find out what they're talking about. Like I don't even know what, like, you know, people talk about like your body type or whatever. I don't even know what my body type is. Like I learned from watching people online that I have an apron belly, but that's just because I kept getting ads from the TikTok shop of plus size people who look like me saying that they had apron bellies. And I'm like, is that what that is? And I'm like, I guess that's what that is. And so it gave me something to
I
Google to
will say
find.
the fashion stuff, it's not very size inclusive, and that's why plus size
Hmm.
girlies have had to advocate for themselves on
Yeah, and
social.
I use that term just to like Google when I'm trying to look for like clothes or whatever, to find something that would probably fit me. But either way, you actually know about fashion things, so I wanted to ask what you thought about them dressing Luke in like all white clothes.
I don't know if that's him potentially trying to put on I am the hero here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because white's usually purity, it's usually the color of, like the good people versus the bad people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wouldn't be surprised if that's a little bit of Luke deluding himself of like I'm on the right side.
It
And
also feels
yeah.
like the tracksuit of
Oh my
evil,
gosh.
which is what I am deciding to call it at this moment in time. It has
Hmm.
like these little like symbol things on it that
Yeah, it's like a Grecian sort of like you usually see it on the hem of things or like a little embroidery touch to things for whatever reason that like square like spiral thing is associated with Greek. I'm actually not sure the history of that one to be honest.
I'm
Um,
just picturing
yeah.
like this is what I'm picturing. I'm picturing a scene like America's Next Top Model where he like wakes up every day like on on Princess Andromeda and like Kronos just has like his clothes set out for him
Oh my gosh.
for the day because that's very obviously it feels like if Kronos was a fashion designer that would be like what he's telling him to wear. But it does feel like one of those things that like Kronos is almost like building up this idea. Sophia's laughing, and
Watch like
of this
all of
idea
the
of like of Luke
yeah.
wearing all white and him like imagining himself as like the savior
Yeah.
of
Well, the
whatever.
other shot we got of him actually dressed was that shot of him stabbing Walker, and it doesn't look like the same tracksuit. It looks like it might be like a beige
Yeah, that
kind of
one was
color.
like it was like white-ish, like white tan, like jeans, and he had on like still like a white shirt and like another like tan like white shirt over it. And that's what he's wearing when they fight on the ship and when they fight at camp.
Yeah.
Like I figured out that it was him trying to stab Percy to death because you could see like his sleeves in the picture when I was like going through the shots of the trailer. And so he's wearing white like all the time. And it's just such an interesting thing to do with him,
Yeah.
considering that obviously he's obviously not the good guy. And usually, in an annoying way, they usually have good people wear white in like every Star Wars movie. Like
Hmm.
there are so many nerds out there that make all these theories that Luke was like about to turn to the dark side and return the
Oh,
Jedi
yeah.
just because he wore black in the beginning, and I was like, he's just wearing black. Like it's not that much of a statement. Can we just chill out? Oh my goodness. Um,
Yeah. In
but
this one, though, it does seem like it could be, and it would be so funny if Kronos has all of his minions in matching boy band tracksuits, but like,
yeah,
I, yeah, like I don't know. I feel like maybe it's supposed to be symbolic of Luke deluding himself that this is the right side, that he is the hero.
like what if they get on the Princess Andromeda and everyone is wearing that tracksuit?
I mean, that would be hilarious, but
Like they're like we're in a cult. Is Luke a cult leader? Kronos is actually the cult leader. Honestly, it is actually a cult. It's
yeah.
a death cult, really. But either way, that was just such an interesting thing for them to do. Like there isn't a whole lot of like fashion ish things, but there are going to be things like that at least with like Cersei too.
Hmm.
In when she shows up, and but it's just interesting to see like how they choose to like dress people. I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just like okay, that's an interesting choice with him, and I feel like he's like I'm the savior of Olympus because I'm pretty sure like the original I guess the thing I think about it when I saw it was the original kind of end of the Lightning Thief. Luke is being like super white supremacist fascisty,
Hmm.
where he's like the rest of humanity is going to go back to hiding in the caves if you don't want to join me. The only people that will survive are the ones that are like smart enough. The rest of you are like too stupid basically to join me kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And and is talking about like the golden age is going to come back, and like the last thing he says to Percy is that like you're not going to be a part of the golden age, which is just wild eugenics. And I see something almost every day that is just eugenics happening, and people like don't seem to realize it. It's really weird to see that happening all the time right now. But either way, like them bringing that idea up, it just feels like that's a version of that, of Luke being like telling himself like, I'm the savior of humanity, like I'm the savior of the demigods, I'm gonna save you all, while I'm actually at the same time killing all of you.
Well, and I feel like it was either you or Sky who said this, like the delusion of wearing white to go stab a tree, wearing white to go out and do all of these mad things. It's almost like in a way saying, "Oh, look at how untouchable I am. My perfect, immaculate white clothes aren't going to get dirty."
Yeah.
You know?
Even like showing up at the end, like showing up to camp to stab Percy to death, to kill everyone at camp, like breaking into camp when, like, just like to like that scene, if it happens how I think it will, it's him showing up at camp when they're doing the chariot race, when they're all having fun and having a nice time and like relaxing, and he comes in wearing all white with his horrible army to destroy all of it and to try to kill them, or at least kill Percy, at least for having the audacity to like beat him with the golden fleece. He didn't actually do anything necessarily to Luke, because part of the whole thing with I don't know, it's just, it would just be wild, I guess, to see that happen. And either way he's at camp during that part, and so he's there for some of it in some way. There is no other grass and trees like that except at camp. And so anyway, and so it just feels like a fascisty thing with Luke to see himself as like the savior of all humanity, when the plot of that season is him trying to kill Thalia so he can kill the rest of camp. And still like telling himself that he's the savior of all of them by killing all of them so that they don't have to suffer by him taking everybody out. Like, oh, I'm just doing you a favor by ending your life now. It's like that kind of thing. It feels like that's the way that he would put it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we can go into the insanity with Dior. And so, essentially, the kids on the Demon Children on Twitter basically they did this before. We've talked about this sort of thing before, where they invent problems that don't exist. Yeah. And so there is this cast, like if you watch this cast in interviews, you have to actually be like making something up inside your head to believe that they aren't close and they don't get along. Yeah. Because the way that they talk to each other is just too like natural for it to not be anything else. Like they did a video joking about how they all don't like Walker, when it was very obvious that that is categorically untrue. And they like in the interview that I watched with Dior, with the girl with trying the sour candy and stuff, Sophia saying she was in the Hall H panel, her friend Sophia, and she was saying you could tell that they were friends. One of the things that the newest Olympian mentioned was that Charlie was answering one question and his like voice like squeaked or whatever, and all the other kids all started laughing at the same time. Like that's the kind of stuff you do when you're like just hanging out with like your best friends and you're just laughing. Like we would do that if one of us had that happen. We would start laughing. If we were, especially if you're talking in front of like 10,000 people. But either way, what I was about to say was the YouTube video that Dior did, where the girl that was, the concept of the show is that you try like different levels of sour candy. It's like a sour candy version of that Hot One show. Yeah. And she asks more questions as it goes along. And she tried to ask questions for like secrets about like every like main cast member. And she's like, none of them have any secrets. Like, she asked, of course, first about Walker, and she was like, he owns a hoverboard. And that's, like, all she could say about him. One thing from that interview that was just interesting was she said that Walker was her therapist.
Yeah.
She said he was her therapist, also her little brother, and also her co-star at the same time. She's like, it's a very complicated relationship. And I'm like, that is fascinating. Like, she literally said in this podcast thing that when she has troubles with guys, she goes to Walker to ask for advice. And she like, I go to him because he always knows what to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is a Capricorn child. Like,
Yes.
we just, Capricorn and Aquarius children, we always just know what to do about everyone else's life.
Yeah.
But that was just hilarious. That is not something that you would necessarily. My point about this is that there's a lot of really parasocial things happening. In this interview, they ask, like I said, the host tries to ask for secrets. She won't give ones up about anybody. And most of them, she says, like, they don't have any secrets. She's like, the way that we act in, like, interviews are just how we are in person. Like, she's like, that's how everybody is, like, in person. That's just how we are. The host tried to ask if anyone in the cast had dated, and she was like, no. And that was it. Like, that's it. No. And she asked, like, a follow question, like, nobody, and she was like, no. She was like, Aryan's the only one that is even in a relationship right now. And she's only said that because his girlfriend and him, like, she said they got together, like, last year, but they just recently started showing that they're together. But, like, even if they were, they would never tell you. And that's the point of that her being like that in that interview, is that she also has an Aries moon. And that's her being like, back off of my, like, best friends. I'm not going to tell you anything about any of these people. Like, I'm not doing that. This is not that, maybe that works with other people, with other, like, you know, interviews or whatever, but this cast isn't going to do anything like that because they actually like each other.
Yeah.
They're not going to do
The other
that.
thing, though, was like her and Leah literally were having sleepovers, right? That was another
Yeah.
thing from that.
Yeah, in that interview, she talked about how at the beginning of the season, Leah would come over to her place and they would, like, do, like, all the different, like, cool, like, skin therapy things. She said, like, Leah would ask her that she had one of those, like, what are they called?
Red light.
Lymphatic
Oh.
massage thingies.
Yeah.
And Leah would ask her, like, how do you do these? And she's like, I don't know. and they would, like, figure out how to do all this stuff and just have, like, nice girl nights or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that, like, her and Leah and Tamara, for obvious reasons, as, like, the three black girls on the show, would be close. And just for anyone who's, like, trying to find anything to speculate about anybody involved in this cast, I'm quite sure that the only reason why she only was, like, hanging out with Leah every night like that in the beginning of the season is that because that was before Tamara showed up. And then after Tamara was there, her and Tamara are really close, and they're, like, the age where they could, like, go out and do fun stuff in Canada that Leah wouldn't be able to do yet. And so that's the only reason why, not because they, like, don't want to be around Leah anymore or something, but just because she could hang out with somebody, like, her age, and they could go do some, like, stuff together that she can't do with Leah yet.
Yeah.
But either way, this cast is, like, they actually get along. The way that they joke with each other is the kind of things that you can't, like, fake. It's just natural. It's just how people who get along, who are friends, just, like, talk to each other.
Yes.
Like, the other big clue you could take from this is that they see each other when they don't have to. Like, all of them who live in California all went to see The Weeknd together.
Mm-hmm.
Tamara lives in the UK, and she was in LA and went to The Weeknd with them. And, like, they like, after season 1 aired, like, the weekend after season 1 aired was the Super Bowl or something. It was, like, close by to it. They all were in LA, and they all went to Leah's house to hang out for the day, on the day of the Super Bowl. Just so them and, like, their moms could all hang out together. Like, they just hang out together. They don't have to. They're just doing it. Like, there's so many pictures when they're filming of, like, the kids just, like, walking around Vancouver when they're not filming because they're just hanging out together after they're done on set that day.
Yeah.
And so, like, you don't do stuff like that with your cast if you don't actually like each other. And so the Feral Demon kids on Twitter are, like, inventing this narrative that Leah and Dior, like, are in competition with each other. They never are. They are, like, get along. They like each other. And also, it is, like, the point that I tried to make to someone that I saw, like, take effect, because I saw some of them on Twitter talking about how they were being misogynistic, and I was like, oh good, you guys, like, listen to me, that feels so nice, is they were talking, I was telling them, like, it is always misogynistic to believe that if there's like two girls on a show that they have to be like in like competition with each other, and they have to be like fighting with each other for attention, and that they can't, because that doesn't happen with any of the boys. Like, Aryan sat in front of Walker in some of these interviews, and that was basically the overall thing that started this ridiculous situation.
Yeah.
Is that people were like, oh, Dior sat in front of Leah in some of these interviews. And it's like, some of these interviews, there's like, some of them there's 9 people in them, because some of them had the executive producers in them too. But even without them, it's all 6 of them. This show is not like plain favorites. All 6 of the main characters for the season were doing every single interview together. It wasn't just like the main trio, it was all of them doing everything together. And so, yeah, they have to fit all of them in there. And so there's like literally, and most of the time when they do interviews like this, the cast is not the one who decides where they sit anyway. Usually the people that do the interviews tell them where to sit, and they just sit wherever they tell them to go. Yeah. And also, if they did, it doesn't matter. This is so stupid to say something like that like Leah is Leah. She is Annabeth Chase. You really think that she's going to lose any sort of attention because she's not sitting in front all the time? Like, how insecure do you think she is? That you think she needs to sit in front all the time in order to feel like she is gaining attention and she feels special? She doesn't need that. She knows that she's beautiful. She doesn't need to be in the center of attention the way that you imagine her needing to be. Like, just like Walker's fine with the other people sitting in front of him too. He doesn't care. There was like many interviews where the other boys were sitting in front of him. Does he care? Like, no. Like, why would he care about that? You sound stupid.
It really is so stupid.
You sound so stupid saying that. So if you sound stupid saying that about the boys, you sound just as stupid saying that about the girls. But either way, like, this interesting game happens with especially the children on Twitter, but really anywhere. I want you guys to understand that you cannot figure out who these people are purely based on social media. You can't figure out who they are based only on who they follow, the posts that they like and they don't like. There are things that you can maybe take from certain things in certain ways, but when it comes to the kids on this show, they are private people. They don't want you to know about everything in your life. Like, Dior shut down very efficiently people asking about their private life every possible time during that interview for a reason. They want to keep their private life private. They don't like to talk about things that are going on in their life otherwise. Because that's not them. They're not people that are overly online like that. They don't want you to know about the things that are going on. They want you to know about, their work, but not about their personal life. That's not the same thing. And so they would never want to do this sort of thing. And so people are like looking at social media posts that basically people have decided to label Dior as a Zionist. Mm-hmm. She's not a Zionist. You guys don't even know what that word means anymore.
Well, yeah, first of all, one thing that I want to say is, like, I know a lot of us are mad about what's happening in Palestine, and we should be, right? Mm-hmm. But that has come at the expense. I've seen so many of my Jewish mutuals here on TikTok have to defend themselves for simply wearing like a Star of David. You know, like, it's gotten to the point where if you are Jewish, you're going to be questioned about how you feel about Palestine. And, not everybody needs to have that conversation 10 times a day to prove how much they don't like genocide. You know what I mean?
And also, like, Zionism, as a definition, is the belief that, like, the people in Palestine do not deserve to live and that they deserve to be eradicated and destroyed from the planet. There are people who are, like, celebrities, like Deborah Messing and Amy Schumer and people like that who are actual Zionists. The kid from Stranger Things, who said that Zionism is sexy. And stuff like, those people are Zionists. Dior posting things, like propaganda things, in the weeks after everything happened when most people were falling for that stuff.
I fell for it.
Okay, does not mean...
One of the things I fell for, though, was everybody was saying after the October 7th attack that, like, Hamas was suddenly going to take over everything, and you were going to not be able to avoid, like, images of hostages. And I had made a post on my story just being like, hey, I'm hearing this. Should I be concerned about my child's social media usage? And I've told this story before, but I didn't tell it connected like this. This one astrologer that had kind of a culty following that I
Oh
actually
yeah.
like became mutuals with on Instagram, which is a hard thing to do with somebody with a huge following. She blocked me after that, and she has been speaking out about Palestine since way, way before October 7th,
Mhm.
2023. But she like didn't even wait for like any dust to settle to see where I actually stood or anything like that. It was just like, okay, block. And people's initial reactions to what happened on January 7th, I don't think are things that we should take so seriously,
No.
considering we didn't know much then.
And also, just to like make the point, in the podcast interview that Dior did, the sour candy thing that I keep talking about, one of the things about that I thought was interesting is she's Iranian, and she was
Yeah.
talking about how she heard of Percy Jackson doing tryouts. She was doing a movie in the Dominican Republic, and somebody that she was doing a movie with, he had her like be the other person in the script when he was trying out for Luke. And she knew of the books. Like she said, her cousins when she was growing up
Yeah.
read the books, but she hadn't read them when she was younger. She just like pretended like she did, so her cousins would think she was cool. Um, but after she was done with that movie, she was like 15 then, and she moved to Iran. Like she was
Hmm.
living. She sent in a tryout for Clarisse because she was like, "There's no way I'm ever gonna get this." But as Percy Jackson, I have to like try. And so she sent in her tryout for Clarisse, and then she moved to Iran.
Hmm.
And when she did her callback where she was on like a Zoom call with the executive producers and stuff, she was in Iran
Yeah.
doing that. It was like she said it was like midnight her time. She said she moved to Iran. She was planning on never coming back home. And just like, and by home I mean not coming back to the United States. She was planning on just moving to Iran and living there for good.
Hmm.
And so, if you're going to like rake somebody over the coals for things that they think you've done wrong, the least you can do is actually understand her. People from Iran, there's a lot of propaganda having to do with Hamas because Israel has tried to get Iran to help them wipe out Palestine by saying that they're going to get rid of their tyrannical dictators in their country. And so some people in Iran want to believe that's true because their dictators are fucking horrific. And so there are some things like that there. That's why she believed that at first, because her family, who lives in Iran still, likely believes that she's not just like some girl going off on it herself. She is Persian. Like she
Hmm.
was literally living there before she did Percy Jackson. Do you live there right now? Do you know what it's like to actually live in the Middle East and deal with this kind of thing? No, you don't. You're an opinionated girl, a teenage girl on Twitter that's trying to find a reason to be really misogynistic and terrible to her because you just don't like that she's getting more attention than your favorite actress in some of the interviews.
Yeah.
And this season is about Clarisse. This is her quest. Why are you surprised that she's getting more questions than she normally would? This is the season when she would. But either way, like, if you're going to be like this about Dior, at least bare minimum know about the things she said about her own life and actually look at her as a person. And
Hmm.
so, and also, one of the things they brought up was that she didn't know that, like, spaz is a slur. And it's like, yeah, that is an AAVE word. Do
Yeah,
you
in America,
guys,
it's not treated like a slur. Like a lot of us didn't know until people started getting called out for it. Was it like Nicki Minaj or somebody who had
yeah,
it as Beyonce?
Beyonce
Yeah.
accidentally said it. And Lizzo said it. Have you ever noticed that the people who accidentally say it that don't know that it's a slur, they're all black people? It's because it's an AAVE word. They did not know that. That word is more of a big slur towards the disabled community in the UK than it
Hmm.
is in the US. But they understand that it is, so they've stopped using it. But I saw people using that against her, and it's like she realized she didn't know that that was a bad word. She as soon as people
Yeah.
told her that it was, she immediately deleted it and apologized, and then was like off the internet for a month because she
Well,
felt bad.
so
And so like,
actually,
why are you using that against her still?
one thing that I saw with that though, that they coupled with that, because I think that was around the time she was promoting God's Favorite, right? Like that was her single. She was
Mm-hmm.
promoting it everywhere. She had put, you know how on Instagram you can put like a little status thing now? she put something like, "This is so God's favorite coded," on apparently that same day. Do you guys not realize that song is about like, what do you call it? It's about, why did I just forget the word for it?
It,
Imposter syndrome.
yeah, I
Um,
was gonna say that that song is very Clarisse coded of
mhm,
this season, where it's talking about how people say that I'm God's favorite, but I don't feel like I am because I can't live up to my own expectations.
yeah.
Like, have you listened to the song? No, because
So her saying that, her getting called out for not even realizing she was doing something wrong, was like her calling herself out
yeah,
almost.
the song God's favorite is her calling herself out about her
Hmm.
own like insecurities and feeling like
Yeah.
she can never be good enough for people. And everyone's saying like how good and how lucky her life is, and her acknowledging that it is, but also feeling like she can never be like good enough anyway. And so regardless, a lot of the feral demon children on Twitter were just being horrific towards her, like making comments about her looks, her body, what she was wearing, just. And the thing about it is that when people, okay, this is the part that it's like very interesting, is the updates Percy account that we've been talking about lately, because they're the ones that instigated the whole situation with the leaks on also on Twitter, that
Hmm.
the cast acknowledged because they put the final end part of the trailer was them tacking on that scene, and they all said like, yeah, it's because of the leaks,
Hmm.
because they all saw the scenes and they might as well just like tack it on. And I'm like, you
Yeah.
guys should be like embarrassed that the cast is like talking about the things you guys do in this way anyway. But anyway, they were just being absolutely horrifying to her, and everyone could like, people were like, I saw people mention it on other social media platforms, and so I knew it had to be bad.
Hmm.
And I saw something somewhere that like somebody said like it's bad when like the one of the writers of the show comments on it, and so I was like, who said what? And I think you're the one that sent that to me, and so I was like, it has to be like Daphne
Yeah.
Olive, who's one of the main writers, and she posted like, what is wrong with all of you?
Yeah, just that. She
Yeah,
just tweeted that out.
what is wrong with all of you? And I was like, it's a really valid question. And the updates Percy account started being like, this is over the line. You guys need to stop how you talk about these kids. They don't talk about their lives publicly. They don't want any of this parasocial stuff with you. They don't try to like make that happen or anything. They don't want any of this. And immediately they all start being like, "Oh, well, you're horrible because like Dior is a Zionist and blah, blah." And it's like, you don't care about that. You are only bringing this up now as an excuse to be a fucking bitch. Like,
Yeah.
you don't care about, if you care about, I want you to go look a Palestinian person in the face and tell them that the way that you're helping them is by calling Dior Goodjohn on Twitter ugly. Like,
Hmm.
you really think that's helping anybody? You really think that's helping anybody who's Zionist to, like, change their mind? Like,
Yeah.
really? Like, you're just doing that thing that teenagers do right now where you're just trying to find a way to cancel somebody that you don't like for irrational reasons and trying
Hmm.
to make it rational. You don't like her because you feel like Leah is threatened because of her existence, because of misogyny. Leah is not by anything to do with her. They like and support each other. You can do that when you're not being
Yeah.
like this. Um, God. And so that situation was just awful. And the Updates Percy account, I will say, has always defended Leah because they started to be like, oh, now you're saying this and how could you not like defend Leah, blah, blah, blah. He has that account, somebody said it was a him, has defended Leah like since the moment that she
Day
was
one.
cast.
Yeah.
And so that they have always defended not only Leah, but also the actors in general. Like, that account was defending her when people were doing that stupid stuff about her birthday party last year, acting like nobody wanted to come. They were the ones telling everybody to shut the hell up back then. They are
Hmm.
consistent about this, and whenever people are going over the line with the actors, they tell them to stop, no matter who it is. The blowback that he got from that was bad enough that he deleted his account.
Hmm.
I went on Twitter last night because that one story that I saw about Clarisse having the big scene with Aries was from his account. And so I went back to his account when I was doing like the notes for this episode to check and see if there was anything else that he posted that I missed. And his account, and it said like, this tweet came from an account that's been deleted. And I was like, what? And I went
Yeah.
and I just like opened up Twitter, and there are all these tweets being like, can updates Percy come back now? And yeah, it's gone. He deleted his entire account because he just didn't want to deal with their shit anymore. And I posted this somewhere, but I was like, do you know how bad you have to be that like the big name fan on Twitter that like granted helped people feel like this animosity towards the production, and so him suddenly defending them definitely feels like mixed messages to them, even if they're being irrational. That's just how this stuff works. Do you know how bad it is that the big name fan that's like the head honcho person on a certain platform just deletes his account because he doesn't want to deal with your shit anymore?
Yeah.
Like, it's bad. And the thing that I saw today that I wanted to make a point of, that we have always been aware of, is I saw somebody say, like, this situation got so big that one of the writers was talking about it, and all these things have happened because of it. And they were like, you know that the cast like actually knows about this, and they're probably like laughing at us or like complaining about us somewhere. And I just want to like make the point, the cast knows about everything. Like anything that you have ever said about them to the point where it becomes like some sort of like a fandom argument or discussion, the cast knows about all of it. Like all of it. They see all of it. These are like, this is true about like every fandom. The people who are in like the thing see more than you know, may imagine they would see. But particularly in this fandom, where all of the main characters are teenage kids that are on social media anyway, they know where to look to find anything they would want to see. They see everything. And so if you feel embarrassed about the idea that the cast and like the writer's room and the fucking riordans know about you bullying Dior, and one of them having to like call you out about it, like imagine all the other things you have done. They know about that. They know about when you guys acted like nobody wanted to go to Leah's birthday party. They know about when you try to act like Walker hates Leah, or like, it is bad enough that in pictures at Comic-Con, Walker and Daniel would not touch Dior and Leah when they were in pictures together. They like put their arms out like to the side like this, where they're just like hovering, so they wouldn't be touching the girls, because they know every time they do, fans start talking about it. Like Leah did an interview with another child actor, like friend of hers, and she started like, they asked her what like dream like, you know, scenario of Annabeth as an adult, what her dream scenario would be. And she started to say like, you know, Annabeth and Percy like being together, like having kids and being able to do whatever she wants. She started saying that and then stopped and was like, no, I want her to have a happy ending. I want her to have a happy ending. And she's like, I just stopped because I know the fans will be weird about stuff like this.
Yep.
And so it's like she feels like she can't even say that her character would end up with Percy, because she knows that fans are going to be weird about her and Walker because of that.
Even though it's canon.
Yeah, they see everything. They see everything that you do. And ever since we ever started this podcast, like from like, I think I said it in one of our very early episodes, I assume that anything that we post, that they will see it. Because not in like an egotistical, like we're so amazing they're going to see it sort of way, but in a way of like, if they see it, I want them to feel okay with how we're talking about them as people, their characters, the show that they're doing, because there's always the chance, because this is not that big of a fandom, it's a niche sort of fandom, and there just aren't that many people in it all the time. And they all are online, and they all have said for years that they're all online. And so it's like, if they're going to see it. And so if you're going, that's what I have always in my mind, that whenever I post anything about the show or anything, I just have it in my mind that like somebody involved in it could see this. Yes. And I want them to like watch it and not like feel upset by how we talk about it. Like, when Becky watched our shit, she was happy with how we talked about it. She felt like we talked about it in a good way. That happened out of nowhere. We had no idea she was going to do that. There's always, like, Becky Riordan just clicks shit and decides to watch it out of nowhere. She does that to people a lot. When she was on Thread, she would just randomly out of nowhere be like, oh, I watched your YouTube channel, I really like it. And the other person would be like, what?
Yeah.
And so if she does that, the other people involved in the show do it. She literally told us that she uses our fan stuff to like win arguments with people.
Yes.
She is not the only one. The cast has said that when they're getting ready for seasons, they will listen to Percy Jackson podcasts and YouTube channels as like doing analysis work for their characters for the new season. You don't know when they're watching your videos. You don't know when they're reading what you're saying. And so if you would be embarrassed by the idea of them reading what you're saying about them, don't say it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, what is this gonna win? Like, the Updates Percy account is now gone. That was the only, like, spoiler source around at all in the entire fandom. Nobody else really wants to do that. So what are they gonna do now?
Yeah.
I don't know what they're gonna do. They're gonna
I'm
fester.
sure it'll be back eventually, but like because that person definitely loves the attention of it. But at the same time, it really is it's upsetting that it got that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, just in case the kids are watching, part of me wants to remind them, you're children. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to still be forming your opinions of things, and people shouldn't persecute you for that, you
Well,
know?
that's the thing, like, the one thing with, like, Gen Z and Gen Alpha that is so detrimental to their mental health that I just wish they would stop is that they keep themselves all under this, like, surveillance state all the time. They surveil each other so much. They,
Yes.
like, are always, there's, like, this thing that happens where because they're enjoying something, they're worried that, like, what if I like this thing, but then I find out later this person is a nice person and that will make me a bad person. That doesn't make you a bad person. That's just normal life. And like, but if you hold people up to standards of needing to be perfect, you are always going to be let down no matter who they are, because
Yes.
nobody can make the right decision all the time. And like, these kids are kids, they're your age. Would you want to like a post on Instagram one day and have people hang that over your head for years afterwards as like some like cosign of who you are as a person in entirety because you just posted a couple things when you didn't realize it at the time, or you just liked a post without really thinking about what it was or
Yeah.
whatever? Like,
It's
no.
like a running joke among us millennials, especially because it's summer, that like when we went to parties or did stuff in our youth that would have made it to Instagram these days, like we're glad that it didn't. You
Yeah.
know, back in our day, if you wanted to upload a picture to social media, you had to take a digital camera with you and then plug it into your computer and upload all of the pictures, then pick out your favorites out of those. Like it wasn't easy to just
And
put
it would take
everything
like
online.
hours sometimes, especially
Yes.
back in like when I was in high school in like 2000, in the early 2000s. I graduated in 2003. We would like, I have this this is a funny memory, but I have this memory of being at my one of my best friends being at my house, which was very rare, but he was over at my house for some reason after school, and we were trying to watch the new Two Towers trailer because that was when that movie was coming out, like that year. It was
Yeah.
like 2001, I think, or 2002. And it took a half hour for the trailer to load because that's how slow internet was then. And
Yes.
so he would just play this game where we would watch the trailer until it was at the point where it would load, and then it would just replay again, and we just did that until it was finally over. And like the scenes that was in that trailer, when those scenes came up in the movie, we could not stop laughing because we watched those scenes like 45 times
Oh my
that
gosh,
one
yeah.
day because of how long it took things to load. That's how the internet was back then. And so it took sometimes literally hours for you to upload like pictures that you took on your digital camera. I'm so glad that I didn't have that stuff, but like you guys do. And it's just so frustrating to see actors like this on the show like trying really hard to be like doing the things that they're doing and putting so much work into what they're doing, and to have people like searching to find something wrong with them.
Yeah.
It's like you can see that these kids actually care about each other and they actually get along. They feel good when they're on set. They're like excited about going back to work. They actually really enjoy what they're doing. They just feel a lot of really good things about the work that they're doing. And people are like trying to find something wrong with them
Yeah.
when there's nothing wrong with them. Like if you don't like the things that Dior posted about that stuff back then, then find a way of dealing with it that isn't that.
Yeah,
Like,
you don't have to follow her social media just
and
because
like
she's
you
on the
also
cast.
just don't know the only thing you if that is the only thing you have on her, you don't know her. You don't actually know her. There's so many other things that she's posted about and said about. She she follows Yeg, like who is also Iranian, that is one of the biggest Palestinian activists. I see her show up as liking posts on Yeg's like Instagram account. She's on Instagram, she's on here too. She has hundreds and thousands of followers. All she posts is pro-Palestine content.
Hmm.
Like, you really think that she's following somebody like that?
She probably educated herself after people were
She like
being stupid.
reposted videos on her TikTok last year of people talking about things that are very pro-Palestine when she didn't have to. It was just like because she wanted to, because nothing, like, nothing was going on like promotional wise where she had to post anything like that. She just
Yeah.
wanted to. Like, other members of the cast follow people that are very pro-Palestine if you really want to be like that, but it's like, let them just live their fucking lives, for the love of God. And either
Yeah.
way, it's just ridiculous that something like Comic-Con was happening, that was this really great experience for all of them, and some fans just like went out of the way to try to ruin it just because they have like they wanted to like imagine that these two girls had to like be in competition with each other. Like, the
Yeah.
only people that are making competition is you.
Yeah.
They're not in
Like,
competition with anybody.
this production is run so much better, and every single time we've seen instances of that in productions with kids, it's because the productions suck. It's like cutting us off. It's like, you guys already talked about what you want to talk about, but we will get into this next week. Like, we have so much to say about it, obviously. Like, can't even shut ourselves up just trying to intro it for
Yeah.
next week. So, we are also planning on covering the Cersei chapters on Wednesday. So we're gonna go with
Yeah.
Cersei on Wednesday and then back to Cersei on Monday and talk about this stuff by Wednesday.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. So we'll let it go since